Hello and welcome to this 9th edition of the Echo Chamberlain livestream. We're almost coming up to the 10. It's going to be super exciting. We're going to have to do some extra big scale stream to celebrate that milestone. But for today, let's bring in the guests. And my first guest is slated to be the prosecution's surprise first-hand witness in the Manhattan case trying the former president over a hush money scandal. But is he credible, and will his testimony be decisive? To find out, let's ask the man himself, Mr. Greg Owen.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I'm afraid that I did have to recuse myself because I am an extreme right-wing bigot. So sadly, I'm no longer allowed to represent the man. Fortunately for me, the country is not in a civil war as portrayed on screen. But if we ever do get into one, I hope that it's as boring as everyone says the movie is. That would be great.
It would be great. Well, since we spoke, we looked at the debt clock last time we spoke, which was about 32 trillion. I think it's risen by about 50 billion since last time we spoke.
Oh, so it's
ticking along nicely.
A few billion a day, whatever. What's a few trillion among friends, right? That's no big problem.
Yeah. Well, my next guest gets up ridiculously early for live stream so habitually, the locals have taken to calling him Malyunung Sutag, which is Korean for chattering rooster. He is Despot of Antrim. Good morning, sir.
How's it going, boys? Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, or wherever it is you are in the world. And thanks for tuning in, as always.
Yeah,
multicultural spot right here.
Thanks for making your damsel video. Again, pointing out all the discrepancies and oddities in film. So we appreciate you for that.
Wait, he had a damsel video? I saw a review of Scum, and it looked like a great movie. I didn't know there was a. Where was the damsel review? When did that drop?
It was so much more interesting. There were a lot of comments saying, man, I was so engrossed in that Scum analysis. And then you had to go back to talking about fucking damsel.
And finally, after being publicly besmirched by my fellow New Zealander YouTuber, Hello Future Me, my next guest has capitalized on the exposure as a minor celebrity and is now featured on Dancing with the Stars, Big Brother, and rumor has it, MILF Manor. Please welcome Random Film Talk.
That's all allegedly. I've not heard of those TV programs. Wink, wink.
Right.
But yeah, thank you for the invite, and it is lovely to meet you guys.
Well, it's great to have you on. The real reason above anything is that you give me an opportunity to bitch and moan and complain, because I felt I was New Zealand's premier YouTube auteur, and then I find out there's this other New Zealander who has 1 million subs, so I was livid. Because they've kind of taken my spot, so I'm very annoyed about that. But yeah, so just to bring everyone up to speed, Random Film Talk and Despot were included in a ill-conceived, hour-long rant/monologue.
It was more than that. It was more than that.
It was so bizarre because it was so bizarre.
About 100 minutes.
Yeah, he was doing a perfectly conventional, perfectly workmanlike deconstruction of the Rings of Power, and then there's this extended chunk, subsequently edited out because he took the heat, where he sort of railed on the online cesspool of deviants and reprobates who do film criticism. And then he got himself in a bit of hot water because he rather clumsily just included a whole bunch of decent, very sort of mainstream and very civilized and decent opinionated people such as yourselves. So Random, take us through this rocketing into the forefront that you've experienced.
Well, so I'm trying to remember time frames. So I think it was on last Saturday, so a week and a bit ago. Someone messaged me on my Discord and was like, have you happened to catch this video from Hello Future Me? And I was like, I don't know who that is. So they dropped me a link and I skipped forward to the I can't remember what the name of the chapter was. It was the Final Boss, the Woke Bros, I think it was called. Which he has since edited out, but as far as I'm aware, the name of the sort of chapter marker is still there. So his outro credits is still called the Woke Bros, because he didn't change it. So yeah, basically what he does in that latter half of the video is he calls out multiple channels by name, and he responds, quote unquote, to some of their clips from some of their videos that he has in the case of Platoon. I know this to be a fact. he has basically cut together two different things that he said and put them together to make it sound like he's saying something that he isn't necessarily saying. In other words, he's taking them out of context. So the channels he accuses, like I'm not going to remember all of them. There's myself, Platoon, Despot, Drinker, Shad.
Disparu was on there.
Yes.
Nerdrotter.
Yeah, so there's about sort of 11 or so channels, and later in the video, he doesn't say this off the top, but later in the video, he also name drops people like, I think it's Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, and who's the other one? Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
So the implication there is that because I haven't seen videos from all the guys that I just said, but I think I'm probably the least political out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. And
he's making the claim that I am essentially a gateway drug to Andrew Tate. So he accuses all of us of being woke bros, which is a term that he has come up with. And my understanding, because I don't use the word woke. I explicitly say in my Barbie video that I will not be using the word woke because I don't like the word, basically. I think it pollutes the discussion. And what he means by that, the woke bros, is that they are anti-woke activists. Which maybe that's true for some of the people that I just said, but it's definitely not true of me. I know that. And the irony is that he essentially hides all of this 2.5 hours into a Rings of Power video. He accuses us of talking about media as a ruse to engage in political messaging, which is on the face of it false, at least for some of those channels. And the irony there is that he has done exactly what he has accused myself and others of doing, in that he has used talking about Rings of Power to sneak in political messaging. So there's the two problems there. One is that he's taking people out of context and he's being dishonest, and two is that he is accusing people of doing that as well. So yeah.
Little Platoon, I even clipped it from the stream that you were on. He had this lovely moment where he talked about people who assume that they're fundamentally right and decent and other people are being political, and they can't wrap their head around the idea that they're also being political to the exact same extent that the other people are being political. And I thought that he framed that and contextualized that in a way which I thought was very clean and nice. Yeah. So Despot, how do you feel about being a reactionary woke bro?
I'm just disappointed the guy deleted the video because I was getting some free publicity out of that. And then he went and deleted it. I thought
a little put out that I wasn't included. He could have would have taken him 5 seconds to just get a little screenshot with me, put in the thing there. Disappointed. I
didn't see his video of it, and I actually watched random. You've got a second channel. I saw that, and I saw he did a little video, and you seem to have included some of his clips. And he speaks in very broad terms, and he's lumping everybody into the same category without really doing his research. It's just lazy. It's just typical lazy stuff. I don't really care, though. It's fine. I mean, I go after people all the time. I don't go after other YouTubers except Chris Stuckman, who I've gone after a couple of times. But other than that, I don't go after other YouTubers. I think it's just bad form. And he's gone after like 10 or a dozen in one video. I just think it's pointless. It's like, we shouldn't become cannibals and sort of cannibalize each other on the YouTube space. You know, the enemy is the enemy. It's the big bad corporate guys who are making all the money, and we're just here, you know, little pissant channels trying to get by. Let's just not redirect our fire into each other's channels and get caught in the crosshairs. So I really don't care. I just wish he'd kept the video up. If you're gonna say something like that, especially if you're gonna use like an hour and a half long clip, keep it up and do one of two things. Either make some corrections, make a follow-up correction video saying, okay, I got the following things wrong. Or you can apologize and say that you were wrong and you didn't do your research properly. But to try to completely delete the historical record, I just think that's wrong. That's really what I think is I don't like I said, I don't have a problem if he calls me a woke bro or an anti-LGBT activist. He can call me whatever the hell he wants. I don't really care. But at least leave it up. Don't try to alter the historical record. That's spineless and it's disingenuous.
Yeah. We'll do a little addendum to it. Yeah.
I tried to watch it. I wanted to see what the whole hubbub was about, but I was too late. I didn't get to catch any of what he actually said, which is unfortunate. I just I think the irony, and you just had Jay's quote up there. it's funny to see people caught up in the team mentality. And you're absolutely right. Platoon had a great way of putting it, but the team mentality cracks me up because the whole, I mean, 2.5 hours of the video is about why Rings of Power is absolute shit. But then he's like, but I like it for better reasons than the other team. Their shenanigans are depressing and sad. Our shenanigans are fun and exciting. And it's just, it's so hilarious and gross to find yourself agreeing with someone who you consider to be your enemy, who, I mean, they're not, but that's the team mentality of it is really funny, that he was just like, yeah, we agree that we don't like this show, but I hate that I agree with my mortal YouTube enemies, the damn conservatives. And somebody in the comments mentioned that he, I guess, called out Just Some Guy as well, who's pretty centrist. I would not classify Just Some Guy as a hardcore conservative. Platoon pointed out about himself, he's like, I'm not anti-LGBT, I am LGBT. So that's I can't really be with the woke bros on that. I like bros. That, it's just it was such a goofy broad brush to paint. Like it was sad. And extra sad that he deleted it a couple days later.
What do you think of the suggestion that he watched Rings of Power? I don't know if this is true before I say this, but it seems probable. He watched Rings of Power when it came out, saw that the various channels he would later decide are woke bros were dunking on it. He therefore delayed his own video on Rings of Power so as to not be seen as part of them.
I don't think it's that complicated. I suspect that he realized that Rings of Power was just really juicy meat. Those videos generated a lot of views, and he saw that pretty much every channel that went after Rings of Power in a negative way got big views. My first really big video was my Rings of Power video that I did, and the Little Platoon is another one. I think he came up basically on Rings of Power. That's kind of what made his channel. So
that's exactly the same for me. Literally, Rings of Power. When I released my first Rings of Power video, I had 50 subs.
Yeah, so Rings of Power, it's the face that launched 1,000 YouTube channels, and a lot of people came up on it. And I suppose the guy just decided, yeah, this is great stuff to get views. But he, at the same time, he wanted to distinguish himself from what is perceived broadly and probably incorrectly as the anti-woke backlash that got involved in Rings of Power. I mean, the reality is Rings of Power is just an appallingly terrible show for many, many reasons. You can get into the politics of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with going after Rings of Power for political reasons, because you can do this if you want, but I think if you review Rings of Power without addressing the real world politics that are obviously influencing the writing and the direction of the show, you're kind of reviewing it in a vacuum, if you know what I mean. You can't do that. But there's so many politics that goes into it, and you can actually read the various DEI policies that Amazon have on their website, and you can read the statements from the showrunners and from Jennifer Salke about how they wanted to inject their vision of the real world into the show, and they wanted to update Tolkien and all this nonsense. And it's very important, I think, to address that, because it's important to explain not just that the show is bad, but why is the show so bad, and why is it so not just bad, but bad in such a bizarre way.
It's a holistic shittiness. That any reviewer has to take on.
And I get it. I've been there with him. Like, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I've made too many negative videos. I don't want to be seen as just a grifter, hater, or whatever. But then also at the same time, that's just something that you got to not give a shit about. Like, the audience wants to see what they want to see, and if they feel like you're too negative, they'll quit watching. But I've had that same feeling, but never thought about delaying a video for an entire year just to not be one of them. That's a very immature way to look at the content that you make.
Well, let's roll the news and move on to some other stuff. I added the little guy from the Acolyte trailer there at the end. Okay, so I'm changing the news. I've evolved it a little bit, and what it is it's called Takedown, which means I've scoured and looked for the worst takes in media and the internet. And so, on a scale of 1 to 5, you're going to consider the headline and the take that someone has got from a various outlet, and on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being kind of Ian David Diaz, it's shit. Being the worst, how would you rate it in terms of being a take? So here's our first It's from CBR. 15 ways Lord of the Rings has aged poorly. So, do you feel that the masterpiece that is The Lord of the Rings has aged poorly? Do you feel, as the author writes, that the CGI looks wonky and that the lead actor there, his acting is often stilted and awkward at times? So, Greg, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this take in terms of
I'm looking at it now. When I joined the stream right before we went live, I saw you had it up, and I hadn't seen this, and I'm perusing it as we speak, and this is like a 6. This is some of the most insane shit I've ever seen. Some races have been typecast. It is implied that every orc and goblin in Lord of the Rings is evil. We're hashtag not all goblins. And what the fuck? And of course, you got the diversity complaint. You've got the this is a good one here. The story takes a while to get started. Frodo leaves the Shire over 40 minutes into the Lord of the Ring. How dare they world build? How dare they not treat this like a goddamn TikTok reel? There should be the TikTok, the Vine booms and shit when Frodo is
I mean, no one would have complained if he just said 10 ways or even 12 ways. So the fact that he pushed all the way to 15, that took a lot of effort. So you're giving it, you can only go to 5, I'm afraid.
Okay, well then it's a solid 5.
All right, Despot, what's your, how would you rate this take?
I'm going to rate this a 4, and I'll explain why. So everything they say is nonsense. In terms of CGI, I would actually point to Lord of the Rings as the CGI basically done perfectly. It's before that era of cinema where they became too reliant on CGI. There's enough practical effects are used that the CGI blends really well, and it's pretty much perfect. You compare that to something like The Hobbit, where CGI was massively overused, and it's not immersive. It's not immersive at all. I mean, one of the major differences which makes The Hobbit so bad, and Random can talk to this. I know you've done Hobbit videos, Random, that you don't feel immersed when you watch The Hobbit, and one of the many reasons is because of the terrible CGI. But I'll give this a 4, not a 5, because this kind of article, which attacks Lord of the Rings for bad reasons, it reminds us how good Lord of the Rings actually is. The fact that it can stand up so easily to criticism. You look at these 15 criticisms and you say, well, they're all wrong. That actually reminds us, wow, it's so good. And it has aged so well that it can't withstand revisionism. And there are movies that do badly when you go back and you look at them and you sort of revise them. One example that I often talk about is Brokeback Mountain, which is a movie about 2 men engaging in homosexual activity at a time when AIDS was rampant in the United States. And I think at least one of them is still married by the time the 80s rolls around, and he's having sex with Mexican prostitutes and things like that. And apart from that, they're also kind of just dumping the kids on their wives and taking off to go fuck each other in the mountains for a week or 2. And the last time I saw it, I was like, man, these 2 guys are, I'm not feeling it at all. I kind of hated them for how they just sort of abandoned their families to go and, pursue their sexual interests, which I thought was very selfish. So from that perspective, I thought it had aged badly. It's still a good movie in terms of its acting and things like that, but there is things that have aged badly when you look back. Lord of the Rings is not one of them, and this article reminds us of that. So
what happened to CGI? Because CGI went from like 1993 to sort of 2001 was great, and then there was like this mid 2000s like Daredevil, Catwoman kind of thing where the CGI just got atrocious, and the Mummy and things like that.
It's like any crutch. We saw it in the video games industry for the last couple of years. We're just now starting to pull back from open worlds. Open world was all the hotness in video games for about a decade.
Man.
Everybody was like, bigger and bigger. We want bigger worlds, bigger. And that was like how they would sell them too. Like, look at how huge our world is. And then after a while, we realized, like, with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there's nothing in this fucking world. Yeah, it's enormous. It takes me an hour to get from one side of the map to the other, but what the fuck is there to do? There's nothing.
That was the reason why Tears of the Kingdom, I think, was a worse game than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is perfect, and Tears of the Kingdom was it's just too big. It takes too long. It's so gigantically massive.
All right, Random, what are you giving this out of 5 on the poor take scale?
So I've had a quick scroll through it to see if it was the article that I thought it was, and it is. I think it's an easy 5 in my view. I mean, just on the face of it, The Lord of the Rings has not aged poorly. It's aged probably better than any other film from that era.
I agree.
It looks better than the Hobbit movies that came out a decade later. And just looking at like the points actually on the list, the Return of the King has too many endings. Well, no, it doesn't, and it doesn't go on for too long. It goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
It goes on for about 20 minutes, and it's concluding a 12-hour movie series. That's really not too much.
Yeah.
Unpopular changes from the books. They cut out Tom Bombadil and Glorfindel. Like, yes, they did, and the movies are better as a result. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I firmly believe that.
Mhm.
No, that's not hot at all. Even Tolkien himself was like, that guy doesn't really make a lot of sense. I wanted him in there, but I get it. He doesn't really fit the story.
Yes, Scouring of the Shire being another one. Like, I know that that's something that a lot of people who know the books wanted to see, but that would not have worked given the way that the films dealt with the ending of the film, the ending of the story. And then you've got other points here that just have nothing to do with The Lord of the Rings. So The Hobbit changes aspects of the original trilogy. That doesn't mean that The Lord of the Rings has aged poorly.
Yeah.
And then you've got The Lord of the Rings will inevitably be rebooted. What? Okay.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, that to me, that's the saying the quiet part out loud right there. Is basically this article is running cover for Rings of Power, and they decided to include it as one of their points that it hasn't aged well because we have a new thing we want to put in its place. That doesn't make any sense right on its face, but that's really what this is all about. Is hail the new age of the age of old Tolkien has ended, and we're ushering in the new age of Galadriel and all the bullshit that's coming along with it. That's really what this is about.
I gotta say, I'm not gonna like read all of them, but I just scrolled down and fucking hell, this one almost makes me angry. So some main characters lack agency. Like, okay, yeah, that's probably true. Some of the main characters probably don't have a huge amount of agency. Merry and Pippin is who they've got in the image, and it says in the article, in the Two Towers, Merry and Pippin are largely passive. They begin the book captured by the orcs, and they stay that way until they are rescued, and later they are passive observers when the Ents destroy Isengard. Conveniently leaving out the fact that the reason why the Ents destroy Isengard is because of Merry and Pippin. It's a selective reading of the Lord of the Rings, and I think you're probably right, Greg. I think that is probably the motive in writing this article, because it's just.
I have
very high scores coming out of the gate, so we've got to move on.
Oh, yeah, we got to move on.
Our next one is this is from HuffPost. Is weed a coping mechanism for bisexual people?
What?
What?
This research, which is about cannabis, but actually centers mental health, sheds light on the complexity of identifying as bisexual. So, Greg, how much of a link can we realistically make? Is weed a coping mechanism for bisexual people?
I'm going to give this one a 3. HuffPost always gets a 2 minimum from me because anything they write is just utter dross. But this one I'm only going to give a 3 because this is just this isn't even a hot take because it really isn't even a take. I mean, this would be like me saying,
very on brand, isn't it?
Is tea a problem for the Korean Festival of Lights? Or, I don't know, something. I don't even know what any of those words are. We're just putting random shit together now to make headlines, and I bet this entire body of copy is AI written. So I'm just going to go with a 3 on this.
3, yeah. I mean, it's nice and endearing. It's very on brand. That makes it endearing.
What are they coping from? Have you read this article?
Just the I don't know, just the difficulties of being bisexual in the modern world. So
Okay.
Despot, where do you rank this on the take scale, on the Chamberlain scale?
All right. Well, I'll be serious with this one. So Douglas Murray has talked about this in one of his books, and I think he's talked about this quite a bit in his interviews as well. He says basically, if you are bisexual, society is going to pin you as either gay or straight, depending on your circumstances. So if, for example, you're a gay man who suddenly starts dating women, society at large will tell you that you're lying to yourself and you're not really bisexual and you're not really attracted to women. You're just a gay man who's lying to himself. And if you are, and they'll kind of attack you for it. And if you're a straight man who claims to be bisexual, society will tell you that, no, you're lying to yourself. You're really just gay. And you'll be perceived as such by both men and women. So there is a difficulty there. And I think it's created by a society that seems to want bisexuals to be gay, especially bisexual men. I think there is a kind of, because Douglas Murray talks about this when he writes about how, in his view, there is no such thing as an LGBT community. It doesn't exist. It's just a platitude, a political platitude, really. So I do think there's a difficulty there for bisexual people because they're, in a sense, their sexual nature is denied, which can't be easy for them. And if some of them smoke cannabis as a means of coping, I would discourage them from it. I don't think smoking cannabis is a good idea for anybody. But I suppose it could be. I'll give it a 2. Also, the girl in the photo reminds me of Portland, and I spent a very nice week in Portland, during which time I may not have followed the advice I just gave.
Excellent. Okay, Random, where do you go in this rather nice?
So I don't entirely, I'm not entirely sure that I understand the sentence, is weed a coping mechanism for bisexual people? Like, if it means what I think it means, which is pretty much what Despot just said, that maybe bisexual people, for various reasons, might experience a higher degree of stress than straight people, and weed is frequently, taken for that reason, then sure, that seems to make sense if that's the case. I'm not sure I would ever describe it as a coping mechanism, though. So
I mean, you could just put anything there. Is wine a coping mechanism for bisexual people?
Yeah.
Is sex a coping mechanism for bisexual people? Put anything in there. So, Random, I need a score before we
if we're going to go for a number, I would go with a 2.
Okay, yeah. All right. Star Wars Outlaws Backlash proves we need more women protagonists. And this is from Alyssa McCanty. Everyone loves her. So, Greg Owen, what would you rate this?
I'm gonna go 4. We're gonna talk about this more. There's a lot to talk about with Star Wars Outlaws. This is more than just the ugly woman thing. This is shitty behavior from a shitty company full of shitty people that puts out shitty products. But I'm only gonna go 4 with this because at this point the audience is sexist. This is boring at this point, so I can't even really be upset because basically this is the headline for every leading lady in any property. They're going to find 1 or 2 tweets that sound sexist and say, look, see those men, this is why we need more women, and it proves our point. And it's just the same old shit. 4 for me.
Yeah, 4. Okay, Despot, where do you land?
I'm going to give this a 4 because it's too boring to get a 5. I mean, at least that Lord of the Rings one was original and just how absolutely awful it was. This one is the same old boring shite you've seen 1,000 times, and it's disingenuous. It's lying to your face. This one, it's suggesting that the backlash is about the fact that it's a female protagonist and gamers hate female protagonists. The writer knows that's a lie.
It's never to do with quality. They'll never in a million years ever make any connection that backlashes has anything to do with quality.
They're pretending that it's all about the fact that it's woman, and it has nothing to do with the fact that it is a hideous, weird, distorted face that doesn't look anything like the model, and that has clearly been distorted throughout the visual depiction process, whatever that's called in video game design.
Mocap.
For almost certainly for political reasons, something to do with body positivity or face positivity, or making women more relatable by turning them into strange radioactive mutants. So it's disingenuous. That's the thing I dislike most about it. I wish she would just be honest and say, it's time for video game characters to, yes, look ugly, or we need to be honest about it. Yes, we do need ugly video game protagonists. I wish the title was that, because at least she'd be being honest, but she's not being honest. She's lying. It's disingenuous, and I hate it.
By the way, for all the people commenting in my latest video, I know it's Matt Damon and it's not Gary from World Police. All right, get on my back.
Matt Damon.
Hey, Random, what's your score for this?
So I don't think I really have a huge amount to say about it because I haven't really paid attention. But if we're going to put a number on it, probably a 4, because it's not a 5, because I don't think it's a straight up awful take. But I do think that it is being dishonest from my understanding of what the backlash actually is. But I've barely paid attention to it. All I have seen is screenshots. And I don't think that the problem that people have has anything to do with the fact that it's a woman.
Okay. All right. Okay, this is from the Federalist. Joe Biden is now chasing the death to America voter. So I love this for being particularly histrionic, the idea that voters who are deliberately anti-America and want America to die, who might be from the Middle East. So Sleepy Joe is going on a crusade to try and get them, because he's so desperate to be reelected. He'll now chase the death to America voter. So Greg, how do you rate this from the Federalist?
Oh gosh, it's a 4 or 5 for sure, because this is the kind of hyperbolic crap that I really can't stand, because it gives ammunition to Biden supporters to just say, look, all of his detractors are just crazy, insane. I mean, yeah, what we have, a Palestinian-looking man here in the photo, and and we're obviously supposed to be drawing connections that he's a member of ISIS or some kind of shit. That's what they're trying to suggest, and this kind of stuff bothers me because Biden, there are a lot of things wrong with our president currently, and this is not one of them. And posting shit like this only makes everybody who's ever had legitimate criticism of him look like a lunatic. So I've talked myself into a 5 on this one.
Wow. Okay. Despot, where do you go on this rather modest and sensible headline?
What my mic fell and I didn't hear. What's this about?
Oh, Joe Biden is now chasing the death to America voter. So it's a rather moderate, sensible, and restrained headline.
What is the assertion here? Is he? In other words, Joe Biden is trying to get anti-American sort of lunatics to vote for him.
The implication is he's so craven to get any votes that he'll even stoop so low as to getting voters who actually hate America. So in other words, he's trying to get Middle Eastern voters. Right.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a 4. I mean, Joe Biden's not chasing. I mean, if you're talking about Joe Biden, the man, I don't really think the individual himself has any sort of clear strategy or tactics in his mind. He's more of, he's a marionette for his political team that will do one thing one day and something else the next.
He's not in the Oval Office talking to his chief of staff saying, we need to get the death to America voters.
I mean, it's wrong, obviously, and it's stupid, and it's not being serious. There's plenty to talk about in American politics, and there are many reasons to criticize Biden. This just isn't one, and this is just lazy. I wouldn't even be surprised if this was a psyop, basically paid opposition kind of thing to make the right look like idiots. Kind of like how there was a conspiracy theory about how Velma, which we'll be talking about in a bit, how Velma was a psyop to make the left look bad. It's so dumb. That's what it reminds me of. So I'll give it but it's too dumb to merit a 5. It needs to make a bit more effort than this to get a 5. So I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, it's too brutal and clumsy and stupid in a federalist kind of way. All right, Random, how would you rate this on the Chamberlain scale?
Again, if I understand the headline with my very limited knowledge of and understanding of American politics, it's a completely stupid, inflammatory, and politically charged thing to say. If there is any truth in there, that headline has got to be completely misleading, as is the photo, as was said earlier. So, but then I don't know enough about it to say. So I'm going to go with a 4 because it seems to me like it's total exaggerated, politically charged bullshit. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Why is media dying, guys? I can't put my finger on it.
Crazy.
So this is from the LA Times. Opinion: don't want Biden or Trump to have so much power. Maybe the US needs a poly presidency. So I think we need like three or four people to be like as a little group of presidents.
What outlet was this from? Was this from news?
This is from the LA Times.
Oh, the same thing. So poly is like the new, it's like the new cool thing in America right now. It's growing in popularity. Bisexual was popular. Well, in the 90s, gay was like very taboo. Like it was big. People got fired for being gay in the 90s. So it was a big deal back then. But then it slowly became more accepted. Then bisexual became the new thing. Then obviously we had trans, and even that is becoming kind of boring in the public sphere. And polyamorous, that's the new thing that we're doing here. And so,
right,
if you can have poly relationships, why not have a poly president?
Sure.
I'm gonna go. This one doesn't even. It's like the rest of them. Some of this stuff is so outlandish that it's now boring because it's so dumb. I get a 3 on this one because it's just so unserious.
They have to literally chuck around the nuclear football to decide who's gonna launch the nuclear weapons. I guess.
Who's president? I'm president on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're president on Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay, so just a timeshare presidency. What do you think?
I'm going to give this a 2. It's just a crappy spitball idea that gets put on the whiteboard at a writer's room, and then about 5 minutes later, somebody says, "Why is that still on the whiteboard? Just erase it." It's so boring and dumb. It's interesting for about 10 seconds, and then you realize that it's actually just a dumb
that's
spitball
exactly what
idea.
it is.
This reminds me of the Revenge of the Nerds scene where he's like, "What if CAT spelled dog?" Deep one, Ogre.
Yeah, you're right. It's got just enough juice and just enough interesting buzzwords in it that can sustain your attention for about 20 seconds. It's exactly what it is.
Circle idea.
Yeah. Random, how would you rate this?
So I have no idea again. So when it said when you first read out maybe the US needs a poly presidency, I don't know what that means. But the place that my head initially went to was having multiple people sort of sharing the role of the presidency, which is an idea that I have heard before. Is that what it's referring to?
That's basically it. It's the idea that the founding fathers would have balked at the idea of having basically a new king as their leader. So there was like 5 minutes where they thought, well, maybe it could be like a little kind of group, and since abandoned. So some anal retentive SWAT, sort of maybe read that and thought, I can generate 600 words out of that. And then,
I just really, as an American, I wish that we had some kind of document that limited the power that the government has. Like if only we had something, just some kind of paper, some sort of declaration that said what the government is allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And then they wouldn't have so much power. God, that would be convenient.
Yeah. Oh, well. So, yeah, so that's it. So, Random, if you had to give it a number, what would you give it?
Oh, if I had to give it a number, 3's boring, so I'll go with a 2. I'm going to make a decision and go with a 2.
Yep. Okay. And then this is from the New Republic. LA doesn't have a homelessness crisis. It has a crisis of abandonment. So you just have to recontextualize it, Greg. So yeah, it's just putting a new spin in it. LA does not have a homelessness crisis.
You know, what's so sad is that I can't even muster up the energy to give this like a 3 or 4. I got to go with a 2 because all this like the recontextualizing and the changing of words to say the same thing is it's just getting boring. I mean, well, I'm actually very surprised that they're saying LA doesn't have a homelessness crisis. They're not homeless. They are unhoused brothers, or they're the unhoused. So I'm very surprised they're even using the dreaded homeless word. It's a 2. This shit's boring.
Fair enough. Despot.
Yeah, it's just Orwellianism. It's just an update to the Newspeak dictionary. That's all this is. Yeah. So, you know, a Newspeak dictionary update patch, 6000.5201. Install chip into your NPCs, remove old chip. We are now saying like unhoused people suffering from unhoused abandonment instead of homeless people or bums. So it's too boring. It's just an update patch for NPCs. I'll give it a 2.
Fair enough.
The word unhoused is double plus good.
Where would you fall on this, Random?
I mean, thinking about it, I probably want to agree with a 2, but I'd say it's maybe closer to a 1 than a 3 because just purely going from that headline, the issue is that it is equating abandonment with homelessness, and it's essentially redirecting you from using the word homelessness to thinking, well, everyone who's homeless is someone who was abandoned, which is going to be true of most. I have no idea, but it's probably not true of all homeless people. So that's probably why I'd go with a 2 rather than a 1.
Greg, I have a theory about the Electoral College. Basically, all the polls are showing that it's just going to come down to the same 3 states again: Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. But the way that my people have moved, a lot of people have moved to Texas and Florida. So the Electoral College has changed to get to 270 now. So in order to, even if Joe Biden just wins those 3 states, he's still going to be 1 shy. And it's going to come down, I think there's Kansas has 3 Electoral College votes, and that divides them up by the winner. So it usually goes 2 Republican and then 1 Democrat. So for me, there's a very good chance that your next election is going to be decided by 1 Electoral College vote in Kansas.
I think that would be, if it did, that would be hilarious. And I would actually love that because I have been advocating for years that all of our states should be doing this. The winner take all electoral. I like the Electoral College system. I think it's a very good plan. It keeps the power from being concentrated in large cities. But the issue is that it's like a winner take all thing. You have some large states here, very, very large states, like Texas is just massive. And Illinois even is pretty large. And the southern part of Illinois leans Republican. The northern part has Chicago, so it leans Democrat. And it's very disenfranchised. Like we often talk about, there's low voter turnout in the U.S. We wonder why people don't vote. I think it's because a lot of people are smart enough to realize that if you're a Republican and you live in the state of California, your vote does not matter. It's pointless. Yeah. You can go vote for Donald Trump or whoever the Republican candidate is, but your vote, it's like pissing in the wind. It makes no difference at all. And I think if more states adopted a proportional vote system like that, with the overall winner obviously taking tie votes, I think we would see a lot more engagement in U.S. elections, and we would see a lot more voter turnout, and it would change the game substantially. It would be amazing, and we wouldn't be focusing on 3 states. Every state would be in play. It would be incredible.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's still in the far-flung future. In the meantime, so this, just for context, this is my fellow New Zealander. Hello, future me. And that's the gang, or some of the gang that he attacked. So that's that. But here's the big news. Despot, I know you can't wait to get stuck in. By the way, there's some chainsawing going on. It's one of the perils of live streaming during the daytime. So I hope it's not too distracting for everyone. So this trailer dropped. And Despot, what were your first impressions?
My first impression was that they're going a bit gun shy. They're trying not to forefront the politics in the same way they were with season 1, and they're trying to recontextualize Velma as a teen drama show rather than a racist, subversive, deconstructionist piece of propaganda.
Yeah, for me, it was like shot after shot after shot of here's a lesbian pairing, here's the lesbian cop parents, here's an interracial romance, Mindy Kaling doing a self-insert where not only is what's the ginger-haired chick's name again?
Daphne,
yeah. Not only is, so I don't know, I didn't actually see the end of the last series. So what is the relationship status between these two?
So they're basically in a complication ship.
Right.
So it's a kind of basically it's a run-of-the-mill will they, won't they lesbian relationship. And they're almost together, and then they're not together, and then they're almost together, and then at the end it's like, what happened? So it's a situationship.
Situationship.
Fun.
I'm using Gen Z language now.
You are hip and relevant.
Yeah. Greg, did you see the full last season?
I did not. I watched the first 2 episodes. That was it. I watched 2 episodes. I did a video. That was my big break, was Velma with that was my creation. I missed out on Rings of Power. And I don't know that it's going to be as good for us creators this time around. I think that it's kind of a known quality. It's a known shitty quantity. So I think we're going to have to get videos out kind of quick, because I think the shock of, holy cow, is it really that bad? Did they really have 2 roaches screwing in the first, opening minutes? Did they really have an opening monologue beating you, the audience, over the head with, this isn't like those other shows, we're cool and edgy? Like, I think all of those things were so shocking that people had to watch videos and see it themselves to believe it. And now I think Rings of Power season 2 is going to be very similar, that it won't pack the same punch, the same negative punch. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, we know that shit. And yeah, it is what it is. They just, they greenlit 2 seasons. They have to make it. They have it. They're just going to put it out, whatever, But I'm still
like we're stuck in this strange time warp where everything is just going stubbornly on. Like Rings of Power season 2 is coming up, and Velma season 2. It's so weird. But the first season did stir up a kind of manic, incredulous energy, and I think everyone caught the spirit of that. So I'm not sure if this is going to be able to do quite the same thing. But it starts off with a punchy kind of a post-punk 2-chord song with lots of people going, hey, yeah, and that kind of thing. And so yeah, Mindy Kaling self-insert. Daphne is clearly besotted with Velma, because of course, in the trailer, that's one thing I got from it. Yeah. And then you got Fred, who's an imbecile. Why is he wearing a chaplain's collar?
Well, this is the one thing that I will give them credit for. You see, they're really edgy and subversive, and what they've decided to do is be super controversial and make fun of Christians.
Whoa, wait a minute. Nobody's ever made fun of the Catholic Church before. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're gonna fucking do it, man. Like they're gonna do it. They're going there. They are going there. It's like holy shit. I mean, I knew it was edgy, but I didn't know it was this edgy.
Good God.
Is that Gen Z black and white clothed creation a new character?
Yes, that is a new character. I have not seen, and I won't say her. It could be zer or them. I don't know that individual's pronouns. I have not seen that individual before.
I never thought it would happen in my life, but I always used to mock and laugh at. You see footage of the baby boomers and the hippies, and then you see like the older generation with those kind of astronaut buzz cut haircuts that all have, and those kind of the glasses they'd have, and they'd be all kind of staunch and wound up, and then goddamn hippies, like they wanted to get really aggressive, and they wound up and pent up about it. But I feel that way about Gen Z. Like if I see someone like that with that ensemble and that hair and those glasses, I literally just want to shake them and go, goddamn Gen Z, wake up.
Yeah,
this horrible to me.
The sad thing is that Mindy is our age. I don't know exactly how old she is, but she's in her late 30s. She's 44 years old, so she's trying to do this like hey, how do you do, fellow kids?
Cringe. She's doing the trunk. She's doing the uncle at a wedding.
Oh
God.
How old are they supposed to be in Velma? I don't know anything about it.
They're supposed to be about 15, 16 years old.
Right. Okay.
Then there's a white dude character, because apparently in this story arc, there's someone who's killing men. I think was one tidbit.
Yeah, because it's one of the Greg. You can talk to this about how one of Velma's main things is that it's subversive.
Oh, it's super subversive. It just, it subverts every single expectation you've ever had.
Despot, could we say that it's Schrodinger's meta?
Oh, it's Schrodinger, as in meta, that can be anything you want if you're the writer at any point during the show. You could make that argument, because, for example, in this, they say this guy, Merle for Sheriff. Did you see it, Random? Did you see the trailer?
I have not seen no. So the only Velma content that I have ever seen is one of the videos Little Platoon did on it. I have not seen the trailer for season 2.
Right. Okay.
I didn't even know it had come out.
So one of the things that about Velma is that it's very meta. Sorry?
Does this guy have a southern accent?
Can't remember if he has a southern accent. He probably
does.
does.
It's a very kind of South Parky kind of they took her jabs kind of accent.
Yeah, shocking. One of the things about Velma is that it regards itself as very clever and very meta, and that's what it really goes for. Its big things are meta, edgy, subversive. That's what it's going for, and it's not. It's trite, cliche, mainstream, and has been and predictable.
Yeah,
but it considers itself the opposite of all those things. So this guy stands up and says, "This serial killer is murdering men." And the idea is that it's meta because in shows about serial killers and movies about serial killers, it's always young, beautiful women that are being murdered. Never men. Men don't get murdered because they have male privilege, so they can't get murdered because 76% of murder victims aren't men. Only what 24% are women, but I don't know who the other 76% are, but they're not men. Men don't get murdered. They have male privilege. So this serial killer is murdering men, and it's shocking and it's edgy and it's subverting the trope, and it knows it's subverting the trope, and it knows that that it knows it's subverting. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's making all the same mistakes. I knew it would do this. This reminded me of like kind of I thought of Yusuf Goebbels in 1945 when he said, the world stage will shake the world will shake as we exit the stage. He was talking about the end of the Third Reich. It kind of reminded me of that. Like Velma has stubbornly, it's just dug in its heels, and it's just going to defend its squalid little territory until the last breath.
Yeah. It's like a cinematic Morbius strip of self-sucking. It's ridiculous. And at random, I know you said you didn't see it. Just to give you an idea of this kind of stuff isn't new because it's been this long running joke that Shaggy is a stoner, right? And the first one of the first 2 episodes, Velma's talking to Shaggy, who has a different name, and she mentions like how all the kids are stoners or whatever, and he looks into the camera and says, "I would never do drugs. Weed is disgusting." And then they pause. for like 5 solid seconds. And he blinks a couple of times and it does the clink, clink, like blinking noise, like staring right at the screen to let you know we're in on the joke. This show winks at the camera so fucking hard. It's insane. And it's cute when Deadpool does it. This one, the number of times that a character said, if this were a horror movie, this would be happening. Or if this were a teen drama show, this would be. And
it's an interesting comparison that you just made, though, is that Deadpool is not insufferable. And everything that you guys have just told me about this show is just the most insufferable thing that has ever been made. And I'm kind of curious as to whether I could actually sit through an episode of it.
It's
bad. You should try. I mean, it got criticized obviously very heavily for the politics of it because it's an extremely propagandistic show. It's very anti-male, very, very feminist, and very anti-white, and in a truly sadistic manner. It's extremely vitriolic and mean-spirited. Yeah, but all that aside, it's very, very easy to criticize the show from a non-political perspective because it's just so trite and poorly written and has many plot holes, and the characterization is poor and erratic. And for example, the show, I think I'm the only person here who watched the entire first season. The show just forgets that it's a murder mystery after episode 2, and it becomes a show about Daphne trying to find her biological parents because she's raised by lesbian foster parents, and about Velma trying to find her biological mother. And it does that for basically until the last episode. And then in the last episode, it suddenly remembers that it's supposed to be a murder mystery show. And it just crams a ton of shit into the last episode, trying to get back to the who is the serial killer plot, which they forgot was even a thing. So it's an appallingly written show from the plot and story perspective.
Despot, if you had to rate the, which is the worst most horrible meta? Is it She-Hulk's meta or Velma's meta?
Man, I would probably say Velma because at least She-Hulk has what's her name? She was quite a good actress. So she could kind of pull it off, even though the material she was working with was absolute dog vomit. She could just about get it across. It's like a really good singer singing an absolutely terrible song. You sort of feel bad for her, but you think, well, she's still a good singer. So there's that. But Velma's very different. It's like an abysmal singer at a karaoke night who's drunk and doesn't realize how fucking awful a singer she is. And she thinks the song is great, but it's all just terrible. So I would say definitely Velma.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the whole point of meta is to try and soften things. Its point is to go over the head of the story and create this other layer where it kind of brings people together. It kind of aligns you in a kind of more interesting, kind of abstract way. Whereas this meta, it's more divisive, layering on top of the existing divisiveness, and it's kind of lecturing too, which is a thing that meta should not be.
It's very bitter. My guess is in your previous slide. I'm going to throw down a $1 bet that that girl, the side shave girl, that's a throuple. That's a Daphne, Velma, girl throuple.
Maybe, or it could be that she takes an interest in Daphne, and then it's that point that Velma realizes she's been taking for granted this wonderful thing that's been in front of her the whole time. So there should be a mechanism for that.
Oh yeah.
Greg, you available to read a super chat?
Scooby, don't watch this.
Thank you, Felonious Hack. And Despot, if you could, from Daryl Joshua.
Hey, guys, entertaining as usual. Any of you going to see any April theatrical re-releases like the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, Shrek 2, Alien, or The Mummy? I don't live in a country that does those re-releases, but if I did, I would probably go to see... If I could see Spider-Man 2 in cinema, that would be really cool. And the Alien, I think, would also be quite nice. The Mummy, I like The Mummy, but it's not necessarily something I would need to see in the big screen, but I would like to see the Alien or Spider-Man 2. But you guys?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't have the privilege that Joshua has here. But Alien would be great. I think Alien would be one film where if a director had an option to just go back and alter things and digitally enhance something. Just the screens where information comes on and has that kind of 1970s chattering computer when the information comes on.
Yeah.
I think no one would have a problem if just that like 1 minute worth of footage, when that happens, it gets replaced by a more kind of modern digital looking thing. I think it'd be great.
If it was up to me, I think I would do. I mean, I always go with my kids, so I would go re-experience Shrek 2 with the little ones. It'd be kind of fun.
Oh, that'd be cute.
You a big cinema fan, Random?
Yeah, I mean, less so now, but I was going to say specifically relating to that super chat, I have actually seen Alien on the big screen. A local cinema near me, where I used to live in Wales, I can't remember if it was actually during COVID or if it was just before. I can't remember, because obviously a bunch of films came back to cinemas during COVID to get people back in the cinemas. And in particular, because Alien is one of my favorite movies, and the bit that I remember, I'm so glad that I saw it on the big screen, is in sort of the final 20 minutes or so, when she's obviously running away from it before the ship self-destructs. And you've got all the smoke and the flashing strobe lights, and that filling up a cinema was completely unlike just watching it on a TV at home.
Right.
It is one of the best like cinema experiences that I've had. It was brilliant. As far as the others, Shrek 2, I think I already saw in the cinema. But yeah, the thing is, the others, like they're good. The Raimi films, the first two at least, Shrek 2 and what was the other one? The Mummy. They're all good, but I wouldn't feel compelled to go and see them in the cinema. Whereas Alien, I would. Anyone who has the opportunity to do that, do it.
There's one scene from Alien that I think about at least once a month because it's so weirdly incongruous and I can't square it. So maybe you guys can answer this for me. So Ian Holmes' Ash is trying to kill Ripley towards the end of the film, and he holds her down, and then he rolls up a magazine, and then he tries to stick the rolled up magazine into her mouth. What the hell is that? I have no idea why they had that choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, the two directions that I would come at that from, and potentially I may do a video on Alien at some point, in which case I'll have a bit more of a think about that, is he's malfunctioning at that point, so he's not going about things in a sensible manner. And you've got the added, I guess, phallic imagery, which is present throughout a lot of the film.
I guess so, yeah. Yes.
With it's, similar to like what the facehugger does and the alien with its internal mouth, you've got that added layer. But as for, if we're binning all of that and just saying, okay, but why did he do it? I would go with he's malfunctioning and he wants to suffocate her in a strange way, I guess. But it could be that there is a better explanation. That's just me going from the top of my head.
I think that's really good, Random. You should check out. Are any of you familiar with collative learning? Bob Iger. He is a YouTube film analyst, and he does a lot of it. He's done Alien quite a bit. And Random, you're right. There's a psychological kind of subconscious theme in Alien about rape. So, for example, the alien itself is, in a sense, it's symbolic of a phallus, and it uses a kind of phallic object that shoots out of its mouth to penetrate its victim. The face hugger, obviously, that's symbolic of rape. It rapes its victim and like phallically shoves itself down the throat. And it's this subconscious theme which makes the movie more unsettling, and it's a very important part. Those subconscious themes are a very important element in psychological horror. There's tons of those in The Shining, for example, and that's present throughout the movie. So those phallic objects and the rape theme is very, very deliberate and very present throughout the movie. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, there's it's not just willies. You've also got vaginas popping up all over the place, especially when they go in the derelict ship. There's just it's all designed around looking like reproductive organs, essentially.
And penetration as well. A lot of very deliberate, very gory penetration is very present in that movie for the same reason.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder with Alien, like, did they start with that or did that come later? Because if I recall correctly from like the writer's commentary track on the special edition, they say that it originally started as just a relatively simple haunted house in space where they land on the planet and the alien is on the ship and then he kills them and that's it. But they were like, it's missing something. We need a really creative way for it to get on the ship. And then one of them was like, well, hold on, why doesn't the alien like screw one of them? And then it gives birth to the alien, which is where the whole life cycle of the alien comes from. and that obviously has connotations with things like rape. So I wonder how early in the writing or production process did they actually come up with that fundamental idea of having the alien come on to the ship inside of one of the crew members.
That's interesting. Also, they were very influenced by the art design of the guy who designed the alien. What was the name of that artist?
H.R. Geiger.
H.R. Geiger. His designs, even if you look at all of his art, his designs have a lot of sexual symbolism. There's a lot of like hermaphrodism, whereby you have a creature that is kind of, you're not sure if it's a male or a female, or sometimes it looks like a creature that's kind of having sex with itself. There's a lot of rape theme. There's a lot of phallic imagery and vaginal imagery, tons of sexual imagery. So I think he brought a lot of that in with his artwork, and they decided to go with that and to infuse those themes into the movie from his artwork as well.
I think the reveal of Ash as a robot is a reveal that we take for granted now. We don't really think about it, but at the time, seeing it for the first time, it must have been incredible. What a reveal. And just the way that slow panning shot when Sigourney Weaver is in the control room with the blinking lights, and the camera just pans very slowly to reveal Ash right beside her. I mean, that's horror in and of itself, let alone all the visceral stuff, that kind of psychological stuff, this presence right next to you.
And he just says completely calmly, I can't remember the exact line, but he says, like, there is a reasonable explanation for this, it's something like that. Yeah, it's so good. I love that. And like you say, taken for granted. It is absolutely taken for granted now in that you can't really imagine what it would have been like at the time.
Yeah.
But it is now just a given that in every alien movie there will be a robot. And like Aliens handled that well because they sort of explained it and justified it. And I mean, we don't know yet, but with the new Alien Romulus film that's coming out, there's going to be a robot because that's what you do in the Alien film. It's that. Yeah, put it this way, I'd be very surprised if one of them is not a droid.
Yeah. To have John Hurt and Ian Holm in the same film, man, what a pleasure that film was.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how we got onto this alien tip from Velma. Anyway,
it was the super chat.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
So Shrek 2 came out last weekend, and I saw this headline. It made more last weekend than Luca Turning Red or Soul made in their re-releases that Disney tried to recapture. So a 20-year-old Shrek 2 outperformed the 2-year-old Turning Red or Luca or whatever, because it's still a classic.
It's almost as if audiences aren't taken with the kind of shit that Disney's been making recently. I wonder why.
It's weird.
I mean, it's kind of a shame though, that because I mean, Luca and what was the other one? Luca and Soul are not terrible.
Soul was a good film. I thought Soul was really good.
I think Turning Red is garbage, but the problem is that if you have, like, Pixar's latest releases have not been good, broadly speaking, which means that if you have one that is good in there, like Soul, people are less likely to be interested, which is a shame, but it's kind of inevitable.
So in this tableau on this shot, we have Fred, who's a small penised white guy who can be laughed at, who's also a dunce. Then you've got race-swapped Mindy Kaling Velma, then you've got lesbian cop parents, then interracial romance. So that's this tableau we have here, plus also the longest staircase in any school in America. So that's where we're at there.
It's gonna be a fun season.
Yeah. And then Despot, I'm not sure if you actually explained why he's taken to Christianity.
So Fred's arc in season 1 is he starts out as a dumb, privileged, excuse me. He starts out as a dumb, privileged white kid, the son of rich parents, and he takes everything for granted, and he expects the best in all of this. And then, if I remember correctly, he goes on an arc whereby Velma gives him a feminist book. It's literally a like one of the founding texts of feminism written in the 70s or something. I can't remember what it was called. But she gives him this feminist book, and he reads the feminist book, and it changes his brain so that he no longer finds traditionally beautiful women attractive. He now finds intellectually stimulating women to be physically attractive because he read this feminist book, this feminist text. And that sends him on a story arc whereby he becomes, in the minds of the writers, he becomes a redemptive character, a redeemed character, because he has gone from a man that finds physically beautiful women to be attractive to a man that finds intellectually stimulating and interesting women to be attractive. And I
What the
guess
fuck?
him becoming, and I guess him becoming a priest is in there. I don't know. It's part of his character arc whereby he goes from this spoiled brat to a pure and pure and pure individual. Maybe he's taken a vow of celibacy and decided to become a priest or something like that. But honestly, I'm going to be honest. I think that there's no real logical explanation for this. Fred doesn't have a character in Velma. Fred is simply used as a kind of canvas for the writers to mock white people and to mock men and also to mock teenage boys with small penises. So that's what he's used for. That is his function in the show. And I suspect what's going on here is that they're simply using him as a canvas to mock Christians, and that's it.
So they went from giving him a small penis to essentially making him celibate. They have like a Freudian level psychological phallic obsession.
It's bizarre, yeah. I think what they're doing here, certainly on either consciously or subconsciously, they're taking the sort of jock that they hated in high school, and they're essentially castrating him. It's a form of symbolic castration. He can no longer have sex. He can no longer enjoy all those hot girls that, the jocks were fucking in high school while they were getting nothing. That's the people who made this show. Little Platoon made a very good point about this. He said that this show, if this were written by men, you'd call them incels. It's supremely mean-spirited, and it's almost like revenge fantasy against the enemies of the showrunners, or the showrunners' high school enemies.
Yeah, you're right. It is terribly mean-spirited. Okay, I want to talk about some social media findings. Greg, I know you're big on this kind of stuff. So this is from a fairly legit report which came out this week. Some Orwellian name of the report, I can't remember, but it was very comprehensive, like tens of thousands of subjects and things. So figure 6 is motives for social media consumption despite a preference to live in a world without it. So people are on social media all wishing that they were living in a world where there wasn't social media. Let's look at TikTok. So motives for being on TikTok. The biggest one is fear of missing out at almost 40%, followed by entertainment, followed by addiction. That's the biggest cited thing. And then information, you can barely make it out, is 15%. So people are going on TikTok, 15% for information, and then 3% for productivity or convenience. So, Greg, this speaks to something dear to your heart, this idea that fear of missing out is the big driver. And then you look at Instagram, fear of missing out is almost 80% of people's drive and motive for being on Instagram, followed by entertainment, and then addiction, and then information. So look at that gigantic, staggering tower right there in the middle. It's crazy.
So it's funny that you brought this up, because just recently, a few months ago, I realized I was just looking at my phone constantly. So I utilize my phone's timers, and basically, I mean, I haven't uninstalled it yet, but I have a 5-minute a day timer for Facebook, and I can't remember the last time I opened it because 5 minutes just isn't enough. And then same thing for Instagram. It's 15 minutes. And then there's another one called Thunder Dungeon, which is just a bunch of memes. I like to look at memes. So each of those are set to 15 minutes. And then after that, the app is just disabled for the rest of the day, because otherwise, I mean, an hour or two will go by and I will just not realize it. And I told my wife about this because she was having the same. She's like, man, I'm looking at my phone too much. So try these timers. And the reason it's funny you bring this up is because just 3 weeks ago, she just deleted Instagram entirely, because she said she finally realized it made her feel awful. Like, she would be scrolling and she's like, I feel unhappy with our house. I feel unhappy with the way that I look. I feel unhappy with my parenting. I feel like, she said she realized she would be scrolling and just feel weird and terrible. And it's because, and that's right there, the giant pillar of FOMO. That's exactly what Instagram is. I mean, we see all these, every now and then it pops up. The trad wife thing is real big on Instagram. You know, these gals that put a full face of makeup on and a sweetheart neckline apron, and they bake bread and shit in an immaculate kitchen that I don't believe children actually live in. And that's it's all lifestyle. It's all the FOMO is real. And so she was like, the timers aren't enough. I have to get rid of this app entirely. I cannot be on it for a minute because it makes me feel like a shitty person and a mother and a wife, and I can't do it. So
that's a really good point. I mean, it's just, of the many things you said, the thing that I really related to there was the kitchen, because when you're cooking, I mean, you've got like 6 kids or something, Greg. I've only got one, but when you're cooking for a family, the kitchen turns into a tip pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then you clean it. I mean, in my case, I'd clean it before I go to bed usually, or like I clean it after work in the evening. And that's it. It's nice and clean for about 5 minutes in the morning. And that's basically how it goes. You cannot keep a kitchen clean with a big family. But in these videos with these trad wives that have 3 or 4 kids, the kitchen's always immaculate. It's like the only way you could do that is if you're washing dishes like 5 times a day, which would be very inefficient. So it is all very staged.
Yeah, it's very performative. And it's, that goes for everything. Just the trad wife one stands out to me because, like you said, I know what a kitchen looks like. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So with TikTok, there's the idea of doom scrolling. You go see how terrible the world is and terrible our culture is, and there's a kind of perverse, masochistic, almost kind of pleasure in doom scrolling. And I wonder if in Instagram is a kind of reverse kind of dynamic where you're looking at overly beautiful, pristine, idealized versions of other people's lives, and so it becomes a kind of doom scrolling where you kind of masochistically rate it against your own circumstances. Maybe that's the thing.
There's something missing on this chart: sexual stimulation, because a lot of men will scroll through Instagram to try to find something to wank off to. Same thing with TikTok as well. Like a lot of men they'll go, and look, I know it sounds kind of creepy, but hey, let's just be real about this. They'll go on to TikTok, they'll find some dance performed by a 15, 16-year-old girl, they'll crack one off. It's a form, because variety is one of the most important things in porn, and TikTok is a soft porn site, among other things, as is Instagram. So I would say a large, something that really generates a lot of traffic for these sites would be soft porn. Basically, it's softcore porn.
That's an interesting...
Go ahead.
No, so I was just going to be quickly. It's an interesting point, and it kind of makes me wonder why this study has separated these categories in the way that they have. Because if we're going to add porn in there, then that could come under either entertainment or addiction, depending on who you ask. These stats may end up looking completely different depending on whether or not they're self-reported, and I guess they would have to be self-reported rather than sort of accidentally told to a psychiatrist or whatever. And then you've got like fear of missing out and entertainment could also be considered a form of addiction. Like, I don't know. I feel like if someone is addicted to Instagram, I don't believe that only 10% of Instagram users are addicted to Instagram. I think that a lot of that 79% is probably people who justify it by saying that they want to see how their friends are doing or something.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I think that's why I limit my use of it, because it doesn't make me feel bad about my life. I think I'm just using it the wrong way, because I just go straight to the Reels tab, and since it curates based on what you watch the most, for me, it's like, it's people falling down, it's funny little skits, it's it's people making like social commentary in a fun way where they're talking to themselves. It's them in 3 different versions, and they're making observations and stuff. Like, so I'm looking for these little 60-second funny skits, or just, like I said, videos of people falling down while riding a bicycle or whatever. Like, I think that shit's hilarious. So, and I find myself just looking for that quick comedy hit. So I don't watch like lifestyle stuff. I don't get anything about being a man or parenting or any of that crap. It's just like, I find myself like, what's the next funny thing? What's the next funny thing? What's the next funny thing? And Despot's absolutely right about the TikTok. There is a channel called Upper Echelon. Is it Upper Echelon or Upper Echelon Gamers? I think it's just Upper Echelon. Yep. And he did videos a few months ago. As a matter of fact, he just had one today that's called the TikTok Cyber Weapon. And then a few months ago, he had one where he went on and kind of purposely looked for underage girls dancing. And they get, he reported there's like code words that get used. Like, people say certain code words, or they put certain emoticons in the chat, and it causes the girl to, she'll step back to expose, what she's wearing, or she'll spin around or jump up and down or whatever. And he's like, a lot of these girls are clearly underage. Like, it's very obvious. And the reason TikTok won't do anything about it is because they keep a portion of those tips. So it is massively profitable for them to essentially have, CP on their site that is unregulated.
I mean,
that's like deep web, dark net kind of sleaze and grime making its way into the mainstream.
I'm generally opposed to government intervention in the private economy generally. I'm very much sort of the Thomas Sowell school of economics, but I was actually pretty much in favor of the TikTok ban. I think TikTok is absolute fucking cancer.
Yeah, it is.
The thing is, in terms of regulation, I mean, all these people don't want to be on social media, but they also at the same time don't want the government to tell them they can't be on social media. It's kind of like a school classroom thing where if you tell one student to get off their phone and not have their phone, they'll complain and whine and screech. But if you say to the whole class, okay, no one is allowed to use their phone. So I don't quite know what to do about it, but just it's the sheer redundancy of all this, that there's so little positive about the use of social media, and it seems to be, I don't know, such a big drain and drag, especially on young people's lives. But that Instagram one is a real problem.
Yeah, it is. It is shocking. And then it's just the other thing is that most of these are it's almost entirely a sales platform at this point. TikTok, especially, like I said, Instagram is every other swipe is it's a promotion, it's a sponsored thing. It's, you know, they are almost entirely sales going on these things. And that's what makes you feel like you're missing out. There's always something new to buy. There's something, you know, that's what it is.
Here's a quick question for the three of you. Do you wish you had social media when you were in school, middle school, high school?
Fuck no.
Good question.
Yeah.
No one my age, no one our age. I mean, I'm 35, but no one sort of in their 30s, 40s would ever say, "I wish we had this when I was in school." I am so fucking glad that we didn't have smartphones when I was in school, because, like, if I got into some fights and I lost and it was a bit embarrassing, what happens today, that gets recorded and it's there forever. Whereas when I was in school, kids will talk about it for a day and then it's forgotten. And I've read this online, you know, the right to forget. People just don't have the right to forget anymore because everything's on the internet and everything is forever. And it would be very depressing for kids. And social, I cannot imagine like how bad it would have been for me in say middle high school if they had social media. This would have been bloody awful. That didn't really become a thing until I entered university. It was just starting to hit as I was finishing grammar school, so it wasn't too bad for me.
I think it would have been bad for me because, sorry, Random, but because in high school I was all over the place. Like sometimes I could hit the mark and be very witty and clever with some sort of audacious social gambits, but other times it'd be a colossal failure and it'd be really messy and stupid and socially awkward. And just the fact that the latter of those would make its way onto social media would have been, I think, pretty grueling. So yeah, I think on balance, I'm probably glad that none of that shit actually existed.
Yeah, we had chat and stuff. We had, what was it? IPC or something. I can't remember the name. It was a little flower icon. We had that. We had AOL chat rooms and stuff. And we still said dumb shit. And there was still bullying and stuff. Even when you had to go, you know, interrupt your family's phone line to get onto AOL and sign into a chat that everybody shared at your school or whatever. And there was still dumb shit said. So I can't imagine, like you said, that you say or do something dumb and somebody has a phone in their hand and instantly memorializes it forever seconds after you've said it. That would be terrifying.
That must really affect the behavior of children in schools today. Like they're really worried. They're constantly looking over their shoulder. They're not able to just be free and you know, worry free and do what they want to do and make those social gambles like they used to, you know.
I mean, another side of it is that they're potentially sort of always on edge to see if they can be the guy recording their, you know, idiot classmate doing something because it might go viral.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Real question though, like if you were in your first or second year of university and you're chronically poor, you can barely afford any type of food, and there's the option of going on to OnlyFans and doing virtually nothing and making like $300 or $400 or $500 per week. I'm not asking if you would do it. I'm just saying, would the thoughts enter your head? That's all I'm asking.
I'm sure it would, but the average OnlyFans influencer, we'll call them to be polite, they make $150 a month. That is the average, $150 a month. Yeah.
But come on, we're bristling examples of pure machismo here. We have audiences.
Yeah, right enough. I'd have those girls throwing money at me, or those guys. I don't discriminate.
Who cares? Doesn't matter as long as the money rolls in. Greg, the thought wouldn't have never even just like for half a second flitted in and then flitted out of your mind again.
Oh, 100%. I know what I searched for and what I thought when I was in school and what I found online. So yeah, that's I mean that whole the entire sex discussion of social media and internet is terrible, and I 100% would have. Yeah.
There's a whole sub-media category of teachers, mainly in Florida, who have their own OnlyFans and have like salacious, seedy stuff.
There was a bizarre one. Do you remember Rachel Dolezal? Anybody?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
She was a white woman who did some makeup and pretended to be a black woman.
Trans Rachel.
Trans Rachel, yeah. She was transracial, and she eventually got caught, and she was fired from her whatever that the Black Poverty Law Center, that whatever that's called. So recently, like I don't know, it was a few months ago, she was working. I kind of felt sorry for her, even though she was obviously a horrible person. I kind of felt sorry for her. Couldn't help it. She was working for $19 an hour as an after school substitute teacher, and she lost that job because it was discovered that she had an OnlyFans. I couldn't help, but I did feel sorry for her, even though she's obviously made some terrible mistakes. But like, she's still that same person. She's changed her name to some ridiculous African name, and she still has her face makeup and tanned, and she still has her hair and dreadlocks. She's mentally ill, like that girl.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Oh, she was from that little sort of generation. I never heard of Rachel Dolezal. Yeah,
no, I have. Yeah, that was a bit of an experience hearing you describe that, because I had never heard of her.
Couldn't help but feel sorry for her, man. Someone needs to help her.
A little era of benignly kooky Americans who became celebrity, like Tan Mom and people like that.
It was one of those 15 minutes of fame. Like she's super famous for 15 minutes, and then everybody forgets about her.
Right.
Okay. Percentage of respondents that prefer to live in a world without the platform. So Instagram, almost 57% of people on Instagram would prefer to live in a world without Instagram. Isn't that insane?
That will never make sense to me, because I very infrequently use social media, period. I'm not sure why. I guess Maps is probably there as like a baseline, but I have never used TikTok. Instagram is the social media platform that I use the most. And basically the only thing that I do with it is look at things that I want to look at, which is primarily, I use it for Warhammer, because I like seeing, minis that other people have painted. And I like using Instagram because I look at the things that I like looking at, if that makes sense. If you're using Instagram to look at things that make you feel like shit, I don't understand why you would continue, because surely you're not getting that dopamine hit. So I don't understand that. It's something I don't think I will ever understand.
Is this not just the purest definition of addiction? There's people who are doing something and are driven by an equal impulse to not be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, usually you get something out of things that you're addicted to, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you're addicted to chocolate and you're obese because you eat too much chocolate, you get to eat the chocolate. Like you get the thing that you like. And you might feel like shit afterwards and wish you'd never eaten all that chocolate, but you still got the experience of eating the chocolate.
Is Amelia Bedelia correct?
Oh yeah, from what I've seen, but yeah, I rarely use Twitter.
I think what you can get from Twitter is you can feed any kind of rage, any kind of negativity that you have. You can feed it on Twitter. That's why I'm not on there. My wife wants me. She's like, you got to do it. If you're going to run a channel, you got to be on all these socials. I'm like, I cannot be on. I know me. I can't be on Twitter.
I'm the same. I'm the same with Greg. Like I deliberately avoid Twitter because it would just turn into a time sink. Not to sound like that guy who brags about how little sleep he gets and how busy he is and how in demand he is, but I just don't have time for Twitter. Because I like my sleep. I like to get 7, 8 hours of sleep a night. I don't want to be on Twitter. I don't want to waste what little time I have to in terms of leisure time or even productivity. If I'm working on a YouTube video or research or something, I don't want to be wasting time on Twitter. I just think in terms of cost benefit analysis, there's so little that Twitter gives you for what you put into it.
I think for you, Despot, Twitter would be like a red rag to a bull.
Yeah, I couldn't. I just don't think that's better if I stay away from that.
No.
Yeah. All right. So I enjoyed last stream's top 100 songs segment so much that we're going to do it again, and I've now turned it into a little segment officially. called Broken Record.
See, I'm the best, man. I did it.
That's
All
a
right.
good one.
Okay,
Oh,
so
good
you've
Lord.
you know the rules. The first so it's a song and artist, and you have to decide, is it an official entry in the Billboard Top 100, or is it a random string of reference and nonsense and gobbledygook that I strung together? All right, your first entry is Blood All On It by Gucci Mane, Key Glock, and Young Dolph.
I'm going to say this is fake because there's no accents or weird symbols or anything, and none of it is misspelled. So, for example, it says Gucci Mane. That's too neat for me. I think they would spell it like MAYNH or something. And you spelled "and" correctly. I think they was like N comma
Yeah,
or something like
apostrophe
that.
N. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, Greg.
I think this one's real. I'm pretty sure Gucci Mane is. I've never heard of Key Glock or Young Dolph, but I thought Gucci Mane's been around for a while. I'm gonna go real. I think this is a real one.
I could
Brandon?
believe it. Yeah, I could believe it. I don't know what a Gucci Mane or a Key Glock or a Young Dolph is, which is leading me to believe that it's real. It's just a combination of syllables that is a thing. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with yes.
Well, Despot, I'm sorry, but Blood All On It by Gucci Mane, Key Glock, and Young Dolph is a real entry in the Billboard Top 100.
I'm just not hip anymore.
I Hate Young Boy by Young Boy Never Broke Again.
Young boy needs to stop using Instagram.
I'm gonna go fake on this one. I don't. Young Boy feels like an amalgamation of all the rap names: Young Anything and Little Something and Something Boy. I'm going fake on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go fake. Yeah. Also,
If
I
it
don't
was-
like how you spelled young. You should have removed the O, so it's just Y-U-N-G.
Yeah.
I was going to say have BOI, boy. And then
That's
I might,
true as well.
yeah.
There you go.
I think that the fact that I Hate Young Boy by a guy called Young Boy, that is funny, which means it's probably fake.
Well, I hate to subvert your expectations, but this is an official entry in the Billboard Top 100. Yeah.
So I'm going to go on YouTube and bookmark that so I can listen to it later. I have to know what that song sounds like.
By the way, Despot, last time we had Get It Sexy by Sexy Red, and you made the offhand comment that I was probably like number 21 on the charts. And I looked back and it was literally number 21 on the charts.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Rain is the song by Savannah Bax featuring Majestic. Or Majestics. I don't know how you pronounce that.
I'm going to say this is real because Majestic it looks right. It's spelled wrong. It's the kind of name that these people go for. Savannah Bax again. It just sounds either Echo has perfected the art of faking names or this is real.
I'm going to go fake because I don't like to put the same letter bubble 3 times in a row on a test. And the last 2 were real. And now I can't believe that the third one is going to be real. Too many Scantrons have got me. I'm going fake.
I think Greg might be onto something here, but at the same time, we've got the misspelling. We've got someone featuring someone else. And we've got the fact that the name of the song is a word that can have multiple meanings and it can be repeated ad nauseum as part of a catchy chorus. So I'm going to go with real.
All right. Well, Despot, you're 0 from 3 because this is some random thing that I made up.
God. Yes. Echo's he's getting really. I knew this would happen because last week he was a bit amateur, but he's getting good at this.
Yeah. I tried to get just to suggest that this could be like a American Christian act. So I thought I'd try and get that. So Rain, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Majestic. Okay. Thinking with My Dick by Kevin Gates featuring Juicy J.
So the problem is, you guys go ahead.
No, sorry,
Right,
I'm just laughing.
fucking-
Sorry.
Where is it? Go ahead, random.
Jesus, what the fuck do we say about this one? So I feel like I've heard the name Juicy J before, But if I ignore that, then I would probably say that this is fake. Because thinking with my dick is probably the kind of thing that could easily be a song name. But usually, as someone who does, like, I don't listen to modern popular music unless things have changed in the last decade. Usually the names of the songs are extremely unmissably obvious metaphors. And thinking with my dick is just thinking with my dick. It's not slapping her with my love sausage or something that you can say on a radio station.
But I get your logic. That's good logic.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that this is fake.
Well, I'm just gonna flip a fucking coin because I've given up trying to. So for this one, I'm flipping a coin. So heads, it's real. Tails, it's fake. All right, that's head. What is that? What is that? That's heads. So heads, it's real. Yeah, it's real. I say.
Correct.
I am ashamed to admit that I know this is real because this was a trending sound on Instagram for a while, and I can tell you that the lyrics that were played a lot were "She's not pretty in the face, but her waist is super thick. I'm just thinking with my dick."
Great. Well, that's the kind of standard we expect from Kevin Gates featuring Juicy J. Okay. All right. Well, you got one, Despot, so that's you're on the board.
Good.
Doing this by Lil Laney and DLM.
All right, I'm just gonna go with my gut. I say it's real. Just
My gut
feels
says
real.
fake. Yeah.
I'm going fake.
All right. Despot again. Sorry, but this is one I just randomly made up.
This has been a bad one for me.
You didn't put the apostrophe next to Lil.
That's true. That should have been a tell. Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I think that's it, actually. Oh, yeah. Gatta only. And this is Floy Minna X Chris MJ.
That can't be real.
It's got to be fake. It's got to be fake.
I might cry if you tell me this is real.
Isn't GATA like a computer term? Is that? No, I'm thinking of SATA. I'm still going fake.
Well, I'm sorry, boys. You're all wrong, because Gatta only Floy Minna X Chris MJ is an actual entry on the Billboard Top 100.
What do those words mean? I know what one
I
of
don't
those
know.
words means.
I don't know. I'm afraid.
Pop music's fucked.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Christ.
Well, you all did pretty poorly, to be honest with you.
Hold on. No. I've got I did abysmally. I lose this round, but I have a question for the chat. Chat, does anybody in the chat listen to modern popular music? Because I gave up on it years ago, and I think we all did, boys, right?
Yeah, the last time I listened to the radio, I think, was when I was 14, and I'm 32 now. So
yeah, I fucking can't. And it's not, and I'm not, this isn't boomerism. I gave up on popular music in my late 20s. I think 2016 was the last year that I really liked, and that there was some really, really great stuff. Bowie's last album came out. That's actually my favorite Bowie album. But I just can't anymore. It's just such utter shite. Does anybody in the chat still listen to modern pop music, modern popular music, whether it's hip hop, rap, or rock, whatever? Sidera17, I'm a classical music major, and this killed me. Yeah, I mean, I'm a classical music major as well, and I did quite well in university, but I'm just not cut out for this
you're
stuff.
a classical music major. That's great. I didn't know
So
that.
the one big issue, there is actually a good reason, and it is, again, fucking social media. So I feel like a boomer sometimes. I hate these damn social medias because a lot of the music is it is made to, they focus on having like a 30 or 45-second clip that can be used in a reel. That's why a lot of them get really, really popular. And then you go find, I've done this before. I'm like, wow, that's such a cool sounding little 30 seconds. And I go find the song and it's an absolute piece of shit. But that part is great and it sounds good. But then the rest of it is garbage. And a lot of it has been made to be, it's like the Whatever podcast. It's 4.5 hours of utter shit. So they can find 2 1-minute clips that sound great and make for good shorts.
Hold on, Greg, did you actually sit through those entire fucking full-length podcasts for your video?
Hell no. No. I watched about an hour of each, and that's all I could take.
Man, that must have been absolutely soul crushing.
Whatever.
Listening to that shite.
The other guys have the decency to keep their shit at 15-20 minutes. Whatever just goes on forever.
Fuck. That's like torture.
Well,
I'm gonna have to do it again.
modern music. Oh, we got one more to go. So Get In With Me by Get In With Me by Bossman D-Lo. No, Bossman D-Lo.
D-Lo.
No, that makes me
D-Lo.
think it's fake because
It's
you
fake.
know the
It's fake.
pronunciation.
If it was D-Lo, it would be D and then big E and then small E L-O. So I'm saying this is fake.
Great.
I don't know. Yeah, fuck it, fake. Let's go fake.
All fake. All on black,
Sorry,
fellas.
guys. This is an actual entry in the shots as well. So Despot, another one down. Abysmal.
Just
Unbelievable.
Fair.
All right. Okay. Finally, we can talk about chicks and gaming.
I'll
So
be back in a
everyone
minute.
now, okay, everyone now is up to date with the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, right? You've seen that, Random?
I have not. So this is basically all new to me. I have seen the screenshot that is now on the screen.
Okay.
That is my knowledge.
So there's the actress, which begs the question: why do they bother hiring an exquisite model only to then render her through 100 layers of incomprehensible identity politics and various jilted neuroses to create this thing which looks like Matt Damon from Team America World Police?
I mean, I feel
Very
like Henry
peculiar.
Cavill is jealous of that jawline. That is, I mean,
Yeah. A lot of people
I mean,
make
it-
comparisons to that guy in what is it? Escape from New York, I think it is, who has the 3 glass bottles and he's got that gigantic.
Oh,
chin.
the Warriors. That is the Warriors.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, I was going to say that there is precedent for this, which is when Andy Serkis played Gollum.
That's right. And there's also who else have we had? There was there's another model, and it was a game from 2017, Greg, and I think she was rendered as something. I in my video we described her as special needs Anne Hathaway. What the
that's
actual
probably
character
that's
was.
by Aloy from the Horizon Zero Dawn games. She was a redheaded gal.
Yeah, that's the one I described as looking like Amy Schumer crossed with Obelix, or
So-
Pippi Longstocking growing up to become a butch lesbian. Those were my 2 analogies I had
What's
for Aloy.
especially sad about her is I think the picture that you found was from the sequel, and she is notably worse looking in the sequel than she was in the first game. I think in the first game, I actually I played that one. It was a great game, and that was a really good game because she was a pretty looking woman. Like if you're going for a video game and you want to have a model that's fun to look at, but you're the kind of person that's like, this like super hyper proportioned, like crazy models that we're using, we should get away from that. I think the original Aloy was actually really good because she just looked like a standard, really pretty woman, like an 8, like someone you're like, wow, she's really great looking, but not like, oh my God, come on, that's fake, touched up, whatever, right? And then in the sequel, they were like, no, we need to make her chubbier and I just re-downloaded that one recently because I played the first like hour of it and it was kind of boring. The sequel was, but the first one was great. And they handled like the sexuality pretty good too. Like there were guys that were hitting on her and she didn't punch anybody. She didn't, there was no like ultra, you men are so dumb, I'm a big boss lady. She just was like, hey, there's a world-ending emergency, so I'm going to focus on that. And that's kind of where they left it. There wasn't a whole lot of sexism or anti-sexism or anything. The first game, really phenomenal. And then the second one is just, it's not great. And it launched the same week as Elden Ring, so it never had a chance.
All right. See, I'm not much of a gamer, Greg, and that might strike you as a surprise. I got as far as Tekken, where I've discovered the character of Yoshimitsu, who's this Asian dude who had this cool trick where he could like do this leg move where he goes around the dude's neck and kind of swivels them around. And I managed to progress up through the ranks. But that's about the extent of my gaming. So the cesspool that is the gaming cultural world is something which is kind of out of my reach.
Yeah.
But do you think that there's a trend? Because I was trying to identify a trend there, some sort of insipid, neurotic desire to take down the beauty of certain characters. Do you think there's a trend there, or am I pissing in the wind?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just basic pattern recognition at this point. You take a look at Spider-Man was another one where in the original game, I don't think any of the character models looked amazing in the original Spider-Man game that Insomniac made a few years ago. It was a great game, really, really fun, but they just didn't really focus that much on having super accurate, motion capture that they got right down to, because for the most part, you're swinging around with a mask on and the cutscenes are there and it's not a big deal. And Mary Jane didn't look any better or worse than any other character model. And then in the sequel, she is a marked downgrade. It's very clear that they messed around with that character model and they made her look worse. This is an example. Aloy is an example. And then when they don't do it, there's controversy for not doing it. You in your video, you brought up Stellar Blade and the enormous butt cheeks of the character model on that one, and there was a giant uproar about that. She's too sexy. So yeah, there's obviously a pattern that we want to have these very homely looking character models, and we want to shame people for having ultra sexualized character models. And I don't fully understand the push for this, but
so let's try and find out what some of the motivations are, and then try and pin down what the most primary one is. So one, it's to try and take away, to try and take away from the insidious male gaze could be a motivation. To try and steer young men away from unrealizable expectations of beauty on women could be another expectation. You could have women who might be jealous of the beauty of other women, which is unattainable. So in a kind of neurotic way, they might want to take down. What is the primary motivation for this kind of trend?
I think it's.
Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahet.
No. You clearly were in a train of thought there.
To me, it's just to me it feels very much like the cis and cis het labeler. Like basically, if we're all in it together, if we make everybody the same, if we apply a label, everybody's got a label, so that way all labels are normal. I think that's what this feels like. Like we're gonna make everybody very average looking, so that we all feel okay because these characters are average. And it's I don't know. It feels like such a strange quest to be on.
So, Despot, take me through feminism, because initial feminism, great. And then phase 2 feminism, or stage 3 feminism, then stage 4 and 5 feminism. Then there was the 90s kind of postmodern ironic feminism, or postmodern it's okay to be sexual feminism, where Hugh Hefner is kind of ironically okay and cool again, and pole dancing can be feminist empowering in a way, and even some college students who will have the idea that proudly to be a slut kind of feminism. And then you've got hostile takeover co-opt entertainment feminism, where you take existing franchises and swap out the male lead and then put in strong female characters feminism. And now you've got take away beauty and reduce the top levels of beauty feminism to make a kind of egalitarian lowest common denominator feminism. Do I have all those types of feminisms? Correct.
I'm no expert on feminism, but I think you've got most of them. There's a good word to describe these people would be neo-Puritans. It's essentially a form of Puritanism. It's a bizarre form of Puritanism that has evolved out of feminism, whereby these activists want to I did a video on body positivity, and the motivations behind this links back to body positivity, whereby they took obese women and they presented them in media in an attempt to socially engineer attraction. They wanted to socially engineer essentially sexual attraction into men. They wanted these fat, disgusting looking women to be sexually attractive to men, and they wanted men to stop regarding, and they wanted society to stop regarding thin, healthy, beautiful women as attractive, because they felt that to be attractive and to be beautiful is exclusive, and they belong to a cult that is utterly obsessed with inclusivity. If you're exclusive in any way, that is automatically bad, and you must be inclusive. To be beautiful is to belong to an exclusive group. That is a bad thing. Any woman, basically the idea of body positivity was that beauty would be redefined as an elective accessory. If you believed yourself to be beautiful and you presented yourself to the world in a manner that you regarded as beautiful, then you were beautiful because you elected to be beautiful. You opted in. Whereas they didn't like the reality that beauty is, in fact, objective. And apart from anything else, body positivity was hypocritical, because the opt-in only applied to fat, ugly, obese women. It did not apply to traditionally beautiful women. They had to be torn down. Literally, in many cases, the posters of them were torn down and replaced with posters of fat women, in the case of the London subway. And what we have here is basically an offshoot of body positivity. You could call it. It is body positivity because they do make their bodies more amorphous and blob-like, but it's also kind of, you could describe it as face positivity. And by the way, I use the word positivity in the Orwellian sense. It's not actually positive. It's profoundly negative. But the reasons for it are, yes, as you say, to invert the male gaze. It's to destroy the exclusivity of beauty. I think it's to destroy something that is beautiful as well. I think the people that do this, They just have an aversion to beauty generally, and they want the world to be ugly and grey and miserable. They're the kind of people that think that postmodern architecture is great and that everyone should live in a concrete slab, except them. They should live in a beautiful house in the suburbs, but everybody else should live in a concrete slab. It's social engineering. They want to suggest that all women can be equally beautiful, and it's misandry. They just and this is what it comes down to. They just fucking hate men, and they want to make them miserable, and they want to force them to look at these strange mutant-like faces and in video games. And I think it does come down to that. I think they just genuinely hate men. They hate gamers. They think of gamers as these kind of angry incels who are entitled and prissy and prickly and angry and toxic and male, and they just want to punish them by destroying something that they love. So I really feel that there is an element of vicious, mean-spirited, is it iconoclasm? Is that the right word? Somebody who wants to tear down and destroy something that is old and beautiful?
Iconoclast is someone who's like an original thinker. So I don't know, but I think you're right. Sometimes you can go for
Maoism. It's Maoism. You can say it, yeah.
So I mean, sometimes you can try and dig for the deeper socio-cultural intricacies of things, but sometimes you just go for the basics. Honestly, and I think you're right.
I think the basics are. There's a lot of things going on here because obviously different individuals will have different motivations. It's not one motivation, that they don't live in a hive mind. But I think one commonality you would find among the various activists that are pushing all this stuff, they just hate men.
And there's also the idea that a beautiful woman can't have agency, that a beautiful woman by definition...
They hate beautiful women. There is that jealousy there as well. You said lowest common denominator, the simplest idea. They're just jealous. They're just jealous women. They think back to high school, how they didn't get any attention, and all the, there was the beautiful cheerleaders that were getting all the attention, and they want revenge.
I mean, I keep saying this. I don't want to be this guy, but I remember distinctly a conversation between a character named O'Brien and another character named Winston, in which O'Brien says we're working to get rid of sexual attraction entirely, and one day we'll get rid of the orgasm. So right, I once again have to be that fucking guy to bring this up because they keep doing it.
Yeah. Dear old RRTNZ, my fellow Kiwi here. Now, here's a New Zealander that I can get behind. All right, RRTNZ for $2. Chuck Norris was in Star Wars. He played the Force. No argument there.
So here's the thing with this game, to go off on a little gamer rage tangent, because the changing the character model is one portion of why this sucks, and there are many other reasons. And one of them is that this game is not entirely. You will not buy the full game at the normal price. So games are getting more expensive. Because they're becoming big Hollywood productions now, and the base game for this is $70. And when it launches in August, it will have day one DLC. And DLC is downloadable content, typically like it's an addition to the story or it's an extra area that used to come out months or sometimes a year after the original game. Like the success of the game would fuel making more game. Since they already had all the assets and everything, they would just sort of make a new area and do a little mini story to add on to it or whatever. This game is going to have day one DLC. And what that means is that they made the entire game and then they carved a section of it off because it's fucking complete. If it's ready day one, that means it's fucking part of the game, but they carved it off and set it to the side. And there are 3 levels to purchase this game. $70 is the base game. You just get the game itself, and it's made by Ubisoft, so it probably won't work on day one. For $110, you get a deluxe edition where they give you the part of the game that they took off in order to fucking swindle $40 out of you. And also you get to play the game 3 days early. So the actual release date of this game is 3 days early. It's not the bullshit date they gave you. Early access is not a thing. You're paying for that to play the game on day one, actually. And then for $130, I think, you get the extra mission or whatever it is, and you get to play early, and you get like a digital PDF with art and shit that they made up on the way. So the actual version of this game, the whole complete version of this game, is $110. And then they're going to sell a season pass, so they will continue to make more content for this game. And this is not an online game, by the way. Like there's separate business models for purely online games like Fortnite, where they're constantly introducing new shit, so you're continuing to pay them. This is a single player experience. It will require you to be online to install it. So even if you buy a physical edition of this and you want to reinstall it on your console or whatever later, and you don't have internet access, you will not be able to install it. and they will have a season pass. So they will charge you at least $70 or more likely $110 if you want the actual whole experience of this game. And then they will want another $25 or $40 later to have access to those other bits that they will release that are probably done now. They're just holding them back because that's the new model.
One of those extra bits you can pay more for is the Jabba the Hutt one. But they put that in the main trailer. They put that in the main trailer, which is kind of disingenuous.
So what they came out with today, they realized they fucked a little too hard. So Jabba will be in the game, but there will be a mission, like a separate mission that Jabba will give you, or a couple of missions or something. So it's a little extra. So there was a little whipped cream, and they removed that, and you can pay a little extra to have that on top. So Jabba will still be there, but this extra little mission that they're dangling, that will be something extra that you can pay for. It's and really what it is they don't want you to buy this game. And that's the other big thing of it is that Ubisoft has their own subscription service, Ubisoft Premium, for $18 a month. And you get the full version of the game. You get the whole season pass. You get all the little bells and whistles and all the shit that used to just come with a fucking game. You just bought a game and it came in a box and you put it in your console and it fucking worked. And now they sell it to you piecemeal. But if you sign up with Ubisoft for $18 a month, you'll get all of those little bells and whistles and all the trinkets and all the shit that should be part of the game. Because what they're counting on is like a gym membership. You will forget and you will continue to pay them $18 a month, auto build until you remember a year from now. And then they will have gotten $200 from you instead of the $110. So that's the real end game here, is to get you into a subscription service with auto billing. And
Does Delicious Crumb have have one of the best laughs in cinema? I think Salacious Crumb.
Oh, absolutely.
His evil little cackle is a fantastic cackle. All right, well, that's the state of gaming. Just another thing which is being ruined by people.
Don't
with
buy
agendas.
it, boys. Gamers need to revolt. I have nothing. I refuse to do subscriptions. Like Nintendo. If I want to play all the old Nintendo 64 games, I can't just buy them off Nintendo. I have to subscribe, and I refuse. I'm not doing it. Never. Don't engage with it, boys. Just refuse to buy it.
I just want to touch real quickly on Shogun. I don't know if anyone's watching this, but man, the show is beautiful to watch. The cinematography, the set design, the costumes. It's got a Game of Thrones vibe. It's beautifully written. All the actors are fantastic. It's one of those shows where you don't really appreciate how good it is when you're watching it. It's sort of something in retrospect that, grows in your imagination and your mind. It just has this incredible exoticism that you feel like you're being transported back in time, and it's got a real intensity and magic to it in that sense. I mean, this is CGI with practical sets done seamlessly and beautiful. Looks awesome. You've got, look at that. Looks incredible, right? It's almost like a painting. It's done exquisitely. And then you've got, look at that, CGI with a landscape rendered beautifully. It's really great stuff. Despot, have you had a chance to check out Shogun yet?
I have. I'm on episode 5, and Shogun is the best show of 2024. I cannot see this being topped. This show is fucking brilliant, and it's very satisfying to me because I watched The Three Body Problem. I'm a big fan of those books, and Netflix made a very disappointing adaptation of it. And I also really like the James Clavell book, Shogun. It's an excellent book, and I loved it. It's a beautiful book, and this does it justice. This is a beautiful adaptation. This is adaptation done well. It's the characterization is excellent. It does not insult the intelligence of the viewer. It respects the intelligence of the viewer. It respects the viewer enough to understand the Byzantine politics of this samurai era, the samurai period, without having to batter you over the head with clunky exposition. The costume design, the set design, the production design, it's all beautiful. The acting is excellent. The main guy who is playing the engine, he's brilliant.
You like Cosmo Jarvis. He's I think the weakest link in the show. I find him frustrating.
I think he's terrific. I really liked his accent. I think he really captures the character from the book. The character from the book is that kind of guy. He's brutish, but intelligent and loving. But also he does have that British streak. I really like Cosmo Jarvis in it. But he's not my favorite actor. My favorite actor is what's the name he plays? Lord Toranaga.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
Excellent.
He's good in everything that I've seen him in, but he's
particularly brilliant in this.
Incredibly good in this. Yeah, it is so good, and like in particular, the relationship between him and John Blackthorne is kind of the highlight for me. I think I'm one episode ahead of you, Despot. I think I've just finished episode 6 a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
and I believe episode 9 aired today or yesterday, depending on what time zone we're at. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what else to add. It's a fantastic show all round. I don't think that there is a weak link in terms of the production. I guess the only thing that potentially someone may be able to criticize about it, at least from what I've seen, is that it misses certain things from the source material due to the nature of how you tell a story on, in an episodic TV show. I don't know if that's the case, but once I finish the series, I'm absolutely going to check out some videos from people who are either like history experts, like I believe Metatron made a video on it, which I haven't yet watched, or from just people who have read the books, because yeah, it's a fantastic show, and it would be interesting to have that, to have another perspective as to why it is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable that stuff is going to be missing from the book because the book is about the same length as War and Peace. It is a gigantically long book, so of course you have to be selective in what you do and do not include in the book. But the book includes lots of scenes of extremely long conversations in which they discuss the culture and the religions of Japan and things like that, and lots of issues with linguistics and things like that, which you couldn't include in the movie or in the TV show because they would just go on for far too long. But in terms of what they have adapted, and in terms of also the themes and the ideas of the book, it's all in there. And I think that's more important in an adaptation to get it thematically correct, rather than just to include scene X plus scene Y plus scene W without really getting to the heart of the source material.
The actor playing Toranaga, he has that amazing thing that great actors are able to do, which is to be able to have that kind of, to look into a middle distance of ironic conjecture and be contemplative, and have you kind of, assessing him to thinking in the Sphinx kind of way what he might be thinking. He has that amazing talent that some actors do.
Here's a quick tip for anybody, like if you're like how to judge an actor, is an actor good or not? Look at how they react, because a lot of people when they look at an actor, they're only really paying attention to the actor when the actor is saying lines, and that's when they think, well, is that good? How does the actor react to what is going on around him or her? Amateur actors forget to react. They forget that they're the character all the time. They think they're only the character when they're saying their lines. There's this beautiful scene.
Thank you,
where
Nixie.
The engine, John Blackthorne, he is riding a boat. He's trying to escape a blockade, and he has to ride the boat really quickly. He has to get his rowers to row really fast so that the boat can clear some rocks. And it shows you this brief shot of Toranaga, and the look on his face is perfect. It perfectly captures this admiration for the engine's bravery. Like Toranaga's looking at him with this kind of coy, admiring smile, and the actor captures that so perfectly. It's just this beautiful shot, and the look on his face, it's subtle, but it's so brilliant. It's just, and when I saw that, I was like, man, sorry, what's the name of the actor again, Random?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Sorry, I keep forgetting his name. Hiroyuki Sanada is supreme in this. I love this show.
That's the thing. If there's one thing about that modern Hollywood can't get in male characters, it's that subdued, ironical control that certain men can exude. And he's a perfect example of that. It's a key characteristic that I don't think modern writers or showrunners are able to really capture.
Hollywood doesn't do stoicism anymore.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it kind of reminded me of Leto Atreides in the first Dune movie. Is the character that immediately came to mind based on your description just now. The kind of the stoicism where he's very reserved, and it's a question of kind of working out what he's thinking based on what he does, not on what he says.
Have to disagree with the Despot. Shogun 24 may have its own merits, but it's not a good adaptation. The characters of Mariko and Blackthorne are horribly distorted from their novel counterparts.
Well, Mariko in the novel is very intellectual. She's linguistically adept. She's very loyal. And in this, she, possibly because of how she translates, she's somewhat conniving. But I haven't seen the full thing, so I don't know how it ends. But from what I've seen so far, Mariko, I think, is quite a close adaptation. And Blackthorn, I mean, in the book, he shows a great deal of concern for his men. He tries to get his men released, so there's loyalty there, and that comes through. He makes an effort to try to integrate himself with the culture around him, the culture of Japan, which I'm seeing so far, and that comes through. He is culturally at odds with Japan, and that comes through. So I think all of the main character traits do come through quite well from what I remember from the book.
Well, it's a must-see as far as I'm concerned. And it's a shame, Despot, because I know I'd love to do an hour-long video for it, but in a sad kind of way, I know it's only going to get 10,000 views. But maybe I should just do it anyway. You know?
I knew that with when I was doing June, I knew that they would do quite badly, and I know that my three body problem video was going to do pretty poorly. I think, even though it's a negative video, I'll be talking about why this is a shit adaptation of the Three Body Problem novel. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I could do a mega video. I could do how Shogun adapts a novel correctly and how Three Body Problem adapts it incorrectly. But that would be I might do that. That'd be a very long video, though.
Maybe we could do a stream. We could do a stream where we just talk about Shogun and go through it with the slides. That could be fun.
Yeah. Combinations might have to be the way to go. I think I'm going to cover this one. I just started watching it today because you had brought it up, and I had been putting it off. And I've watched 2 episodes thus far, and I don't want to be streaming right now. I want to watch the 3rd episode. I'm fucking hooked. Like, it's so good, and I'm hearing good things about Fallout. So I think if I cover this one, I might do a combo of the 2 of them and say, look, they're good shows. It's not all shit, that kind of a thing. But yeah, you guys know positive stuff just doesn't do as well, unfortunately.
Has anybody else seen Fallout?
No.
I've watched all of it.
Well, this brings us on to it's time for the culture. Okay, so I'll move that, put this onto here, pause that, and here we go. So, Random, you won't be familiar with this, but it's okay because all you're going to have to do is be the judge.
Oh, okay.
And so we have a little speed round of questions and topics. And here's our first one. I'm going to be participating in this for a change, just to kind of stretch my legs.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Our first question is, who would you cast to be the Terminator in a new Terminator movie? All right. You got to rejuvenate the franchise. Who is your go-to person who's going to set the stage on fire and absolutely inhabit that role perfectly? Well, perhaps I should go first since I'm the host. Okay, see what we can do here. See if I can remember my arguments. Okay. All right. My choice is Billie Eilish. I think she has a soulless emptiness to the eyes, which I think would suit the role perfectly. She has an unsettling way of shifting her perspective. Imagine if you stabs you with a sharp object and then says, I know this hurts cold to John. She's going to have that dead, cold emptiness to her look. Plus, she has huge, shapeless, baggy clothes, which means that if her exoskeleton is exposed, it's not going to be a problem. And plus, she's going to be younger, and she's going to bring in a huge younger demographic to bring that cold, soulless emptiness and sleepy-eyed dullness to her, which would suit the role perfectly.
That's a really good one.
All right.
How is that going to get topped?
Good question. All right. Greg, you're going to go next. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Your time begins now.
All right. We've already seen the new Terminator. It's very easy. It's very Schwarzenegger-like. It's Alan Ritchson from Reacher. On the show Reacher, he already plays Terminator. He basically plays a robot, and he walks like one. I know he's trying to flex when he walks, but he walks like he's prairie dog. And so we've already seen a hulking, robotic, lifeless, no emotion actor. And Reacher is the one. He's got it locked up. I should have prepared more.
Okay. All right. Despot, you're up, and your time begins now.
The Terminator will be played by Elliot Page. The Terminator model is Zer 1000. Zer travels back in time to the present day. Its job is to prevent the production of a new Terminator movie, which is already underway. Zer shows up on set looking to kill the executives. The director, Folandra Williams, is blown away and thinks Zer is there to audition for the Terminator role and says that Zer has the exact qualities she's looking for in the new Terminator for a modern audience. Zer plays along. In her first scene, she smashes Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator to pieces. As he lies dying, he exclaims, "Wait, this isn't in the script," to which Zer replies, "The script just got updated."
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh my
Random,
God.
out of those three choices, who do you think should be cast to be the next Terminator?
I was going to go with the Alan Ritchson suggestion because I figured if you're going to replace the T-800 role, then you need someone with that kind of physicality. But the Elliot Page suggestion is just too fucking funny. Releasing a Terminator film that is an absurdist meta comedy of itself, I think is exactly what the Terminator franchise needs right now.
I'm not even kidding. If you ask me to make a Terminator movie, the only way you're going to make money is to do a low-budget meta parody. That's it, and that's what it needs because it's dead.
Yeah, like take how accidentally funny or unintentionally funny Terminator Genesis is, and now imagine how much better it could have been if they were trying to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically what you just described.
It turned into a joke, and it has places to go with Terminator, but you cannot parade the same shit in front of an audience again. You know, the girl bosses and the robot from the future. It's not going to work. It has to become a parody of itself, I think. Otherwise, there's nothing else.
I think
the crazy thing is that Elliot Page would actually have, in the modern context, especially if it's taking place in Los Angeles, she would be kind of camouflaged as like just an every type person. Yeah. Oh, well. All right. So a point to Despot there, which means round two. What Star Wars character would have the worst spin-off show? Okay, I'll start. The worst Star Wars character would obviously be the Sarlacc. It has no soul particularly, it has no personality, it has no dialogue, it has no character arc. And the thing is, it just languishes there in the desert, it can't move or do anything. And it's probably mostly been completely forgotten after the events of Return of the Jedi. All it does is slowly digest people in a thing of pain and suffering over 1,000 years, which is a super downer. It has no scope for any kind of character development or any kind of sidekicks or anything like that. It's just going to be a huge downer. No one's going to pay for that. It's going to be the worst spin-off show ever.
Do you think that Disney will race swap the Sarlacc pit in the spin-off show?
Good question. All right, Greg, you're up. Star Wars character with the worst spin-off show. You ready?
Oh, see, I misread. I think mine's going to be the best. I got a banger here. I've got an absolute classic in the making.
All right, well, we'll allow under the circumstances.
This is going to be a good one.
Okay, here we go.
All
here we go. Your time starts now.
Okay, the show is called Sleazebag, and it follows everyone's favorite death stick dealer, Elan Sleazebagano from Attack of the Clones. The first episode would follow him as he rose through the ranks of the death stick underground and would end with his fateful meeting with Obi-Wan in the bar, and we find out that Kenobi's command to go home and rethink his life actually wiped his memory because it's now Star Wars canon that you can just make up how the Force works. The rest of the season is told Memento style as Elan avoids dangerous situations with criminals from his former life while he tries to put together the clues of who he was.
That's really good.
Forgot about that guy. All right, Despot, your time begins.
Oh, no, I'm going subversive.
What are you talking about?
Oh, wait. Sorry, what's that, Despot? Are you starting?
I'm going to go subversive. I was inspired by Velma to subvert the audience's expectations, so I'm going to do the best Star Wars spin-off show.
Okay, great. Your time begins now.
The best Star Wars spin-off show would be Darth Maul's legs. We've had Rebels, the Darth Maul's upper half show spin-off. Now we need the spin-off for his lower half. The legs have to go to a robot workshop to have a top half made. They choose a female body so they can hustle as a ladyboy in the local whore market for a while in order to save enough money to buy a ship. They are quickly mistreated by a client, kill him, steal his money and ship, and fly off planet. The legs' goal was to find Maul's upper half and reunite with him, but they find they like the new ladyboy existence. The legs set up a drug cartel and quickly find themselves in competition with Maul's upper half. Will this conflict erupt into a regional galactic war, or can diplomacy bring the two halves of this divide together?
Well,
wow.
Got your work cut out for you there, Random. What do you think?
All right, so because two of those sounded really good, Is the am I picking the one that I don't want to watch?
I guess so. So out of those three, which one are you not going to pay your Disney Plus subscription for?
Well, so the Darth Maul's legs one sounds hilarious, and I'm just imagining the sort of opening thing that Disney do, where it kind of has the red and blue glow, and you go through Vader's mask and Kylo Ren's mask, and then you just have Darth Maul's legs. I think that would work quite well. The sleazebag Memento type story, I think that could be again absolutely hilarious, and it would be set just following basically a sleazebag, doing his thing in Coruscant, which I don't think we've seen before. So it could be fun as well as, interesting. The one that I would not pay money for would be the Sarlacc pit one. The only options really there, I was just thinking about it, could be that maybe it's about, he communicates with the people as they're disintegrating inside it or something. That's all we've got as far as potential character drama, which is not much.
Well, I think mine was probably the worst, but I think the other twos were the best pitches, I think, overall. So, but I'm not the judge, Random. You're the judge. So what two people are going forward? Yeah, so what two are going forward into the final round?
We're going to say, Sleazebag and Maul's made me laugh the most, I will say.
Okay.
Sleazebag and Maul's legs.
All right, so to the final round it is. And it is. What three movie characters would you bring into battle with you? For the record, I had Vasquez from Aliens, who was, let's rock, would have been cool, plus RoboCop. And I didn't think of a third one, so it's probably good I'm out of this round. Okay.
You made
so Greg. Yeah, I know. Greg, your time begins now.
All right, so I need a well-rounded team. I want to combine a Batman and a Tony Stark genius, so I'm going to go with Chode Boy from Orgasmo. He's got a cool utility belt, and he's a real-life genius. I'm also going to go with Burt Gummer from Tremors 1 and 2 because he's loaded for bear, and he's always prepared for war, and he utters the coolest line in all of film, "Overkill is underrated." And finally, I'm going to take Meteor Man, played by Robert Townsend in the 1993 classic. That way, whoever I'm fighting, I can just accuse them of being racist for wanting to fight us, and we would win automatically.
Top-notch Tremors reference. Well done. Love that character. Okay, Despot, your time begins now.
My three allies are Princess Leia, Magneto, and the Omega Mimic from Edge of Tomorrow. My goal is to destroy both armies and declare myself Despot Supreme of both nations. Magneto will win the victory by manipulating enemy weapons. The Mimic will rewind time and start the battle again when things go wrong. And Princess Leia will wear Slave Leia armor and follow me around. Upon my victory, I will take my Leia to the nearest presidential residence for celebratory activities.
All right. Well, again, Random, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes having to decide the winner out of those.
Well, unfortunately, almost unfairly, I feel like you should choose, because I have seen and am very, very familiar with all three of the films that Despot mentioned. I have never seen any of the films that Greg mentioned. So I have to pick. I've been told, Platoon was telling me the other day that I need to watch Tremors, and I still haven't got around to it because I've just never seen it.
I can forgive you for not seeing Orgasmo and Meteor Man. They're a little niche, but Tremors that's must.
Come on, Random. What's the hold up here? Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that Tremors reference, that's the guy you want on your team. But that's more of a kind of last stand kind of situation. That's where you want someone in that last stand kind of post-apocalyptic kind of thing, where you tell the enemy to get some as a last reveal at the last minute. But I think Despot's right. Despot can just go endlessly round in a loop until he finally achieves his goal. Plus, he's got Leia in the bikini armor, brings some sort of utility to it. So I think
you're more motivated to win the battle.
That's true. So I think by a hair, I have to go with Despot as today's champion. So well done, Despot. Congratulations on that.
Woo.
And that just about does it for today. I think we've discussed everything in the world of popular culture. I just want to see if there's any lingering super chats that have raked up. Let's see. No, I think that's everything accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 there. But how come it says, wait a minute, scrolling down. Okay, so another one from Josh here. Thoughts on The Gentleman Show? Highly recommend. I made a very specific tweet about this where I said it's a load of bollocks. not in the sense of being pejoratively a load of bollocks, but rather in a kind of pleasantly affirming way. Like, for instance, if a friend says something stupid and you say, you don't have to talk a load of bollocks, but while giving them a friendly nuzzle on the head, it's that kind of load of bollocks. That's my take on the gentleman.
Yeah, I've watched the first episode, and for me, it's very much a take it or leave it proposition. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I'm pressed for time as it is, so I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it. I might, but I do really like the film. So yeah.
M8566 for $5. Can we please get a crossover movie between Moore's Legs and Death Stick Sky? Well, obviously, it's going to be better than the Ray movie, so why not? They're both drug related. How are Moore's Legs drugs related?
Well, because they become a drug lord.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe there's hidden lore here. Moore's legs get attached to the Death Stick Guy's upper torso.
No, because Moore's legs have a female upper body.
Oh,
Moore's legs become a ladyboy and actually are quite happy with that arrangement and don't want Maul to don't want to reunite with Maul, and that's part of the tension of the show. And also, ladyboys will have a reflection of themselves reflected back at themselves on screen.
That's true. Okay, well, it's been an absolute pleasure today, gents. It's been fantastic. Can you believe it that next stream will be our 10th? Can you believe that? It's amazing. Where did time go?
We'll have a lot to talk about. We'll have Velma and Rebel Moon.
So I want to do a big stream, maybe have like 7 or 8 or even 9 people drop in. I want to get, I want to push it back an hour, Despot, to be painful for you, but I just want to get to like 10 p.m. UK time so I can get a whole bunch of Mr. Brown Alliance folks on.
I got up at I got up at like 4:50 for the previous stream, so it's fine. Do what you want.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be next time. But in the meantime, it just remains for me to thank the excellent Despot of Antrim. Anything going on for you, Despot? I got one more.
One last Kiwi chat.
Let's see if I can dig that out. Despot, tell us if you got anything going on while I dig this up.
Nothing anytime soon. I'm working on a 3-body problem video, but it'll probably be a while before you see that. I think I might have a Rebel Moon or a Velma video before we see that. So.
Yeah, RRTNZ is essentially correct as the dog's bollocks. So it's that kind of phrasing of bollocks, I think. Yeah. Greg, what's your next vid coming up? Give us something big and splashy and common denominator. You know, we need to get those numbers up.
You know, I do, but unfortunately, real life is too busy. I have a bunch of homework that I'm behind on my kids' homework that I didn't check. As a matter of fact, as soon as we're done, I got to check this geometry here. But I am getting all prepped up. April is going to be, or May is going to be big. I'm obviously doing a bunch of foster care videos in May because that's my pet thing, and then also a bunch of actual stuff that pertains to the real channel that people are normally there for. I think my next one coming up is. I'm going to be looking at why modern movies suck because they have no theme and just the lack of theme that we're seeing and kind of defining what that means and what that looks like and going into that a little bit. And this Saturday, I've got a stream, I think I want to say 10 a.m. Central American time. I'm going to be chatting with another guy, the Mailman. He's on YouTube here. He lives in Africa, and we're going to be talking about African stories and some of the stuff that Disney's been doing out of Africa and what they could be doing. And also we can talk about video games. So those are the next 2 things I got going on.
Cool. Great. And today's featured guest, Random Film Talk. Thank you so much for stopping by. Anything you've got you want to tell the folks?
Thank you for inviting me, firstly. So currently I'm sort of midway or 2/3 of the way through a series covering Arcane and basically explaining why it is so good. I recently put up the part 2 video of 3, which is 4.5 hours long, if anyone wants to watch it. I have recently, like the last week or so, been working on a script talking about the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning film that came out last year. I only saw it very recently, and I hated it. So I'm basically comparing it to Fallout, which is fantastic. As for what will actually come out next, though, it's going to be Rebel Moon Part 2.
Okay.
I saw your Rebel Moon video. It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
Emissary Real. $10 here right at the death. I always enjoy these streams. Thank you for all that you do. Well, thanks. I think the chat has been, I think we've got one of the most erudite chats on YouTube. Wouldn't you agree, boys? Like, there's some good intelligent thinkers out there in chat land.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you, Chad. You've been wonderful today. And that's about it. So it just remains for me to say Harira, Kakiti ano. Thank you to everyone involved. And that will be us. So bye-bye, everyone.
All right.